Chapter 1564. The merchant group slowly advanced towards their destination, and it was quite romantic within the carriage. Zhao Fu continuously did it with the women's bodies and tasted their delicacies. He especially liked Niu Luyun and her two daughters. After obtaining the Minotaur's ancestral power the previous night, and with the Minotaur city lord being so courteous, Zhao Fu felt that it was not good for him to enjoy the mother and daughters. Now that they had left the Minotaur forest, the three women took the initiative and looked quite lewd. After enjoying their bodies, Zhao Fu hugged the women and leisurely looked at the scenery outside the window, living a carefree life. After traveling for a day, the merchant group came to a lush green grassland. It was almost all grass here, and there were no trees. However, there were many large rocks, and the sky was blue. There were a few white clouds floating about, and the scenery was quite beautiful. A-woo! 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 Wolf howls sounded out in the distance, causing Zhao Fu to feel quite startled. Hushan leaned into Zhao Fu's embrace and explained, "Husband, this is the territory of the wolfmen. This is also werewolf territory, and their noses are very sensitive. We must be careful from now on." Zhao Fu hugged her and smiled as he asked, "It's such a dangerous and arduous journey. Why did you choose to do business in such a place?" Hushan sighed as she said, "It's because there are massive benefits. Ordinary goods can be sold for 10 or so times the price here, and when other people attack, everyone will just hand over money to avoid trouble. Even though the profits will be much lower, it won't be as dangerous. Of course, if we meet some races that don't follow the rules, it'll be quite dangerous. They only like to kill and plunder, and there's no reason for them to do so." Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "Then after this, don't take this merchant group anymore. With me here, you won't have to worry about anything in the future." Hushan gave a happy smile and sweetly hugged Zhao Fu. Niu Luyun looked incredibly flirtatious as she took the initiative to kiss Zhao Fu. Within Zhao Fu's embrace, she said shyly, "Sir, it's great that I could meet you. I just hate that I didn't meet you earlier. That way, I would have been able to experience this kind of happiness earlier." Zhao Fu chuckled. "I think it's good to meet you at this time. I like your two daughters very much, especially your eldest daughter, who is very sensible." Niu Luyun blushed and lightly patted Zhao Fu as she said shyly, "Young master, you're really bad." Niu Daodu, who was serving Zhao Fu, also glared at Zhao Fu. Howl! Another wolf howl sounded out. It was very close to the merchant group, and it was accompanied by the sounds of fighting and killing, causing the entire merchant group to become alert. The caravan guard captain also shouted, "Everyone, stay alert." The guards of the merchant group stood guard beside the goods and formed a defensive formation, ready to defend against all possible dangers. At this moment, a group of wolf-headed, humanoid werewolves with gray or green fur were chasing after a dozen or so werewolves. These 10 or so werewolves were different from ordinary werewolves. They were similar to the half-werewolves from before and had human faces, wolf ears, and a wolf tail. They gave off a wild aura. A group of them was fleeing towards the caravan. They definitely would not be able to escape from the people chasing after them, and only by running to the merchant group would they have a trace of hope. Zhao Fu naturally saw this, and he felt quite displeased. After all, this was bringing disaster to the merchant group. However, if the merchant group was discovered by these ferocious wolfmen, it was possible that they would be attacked as well. A while later, the group of escaping werewolves arrived before the merchant group. Zhao Fu came to the front of the group and looked at the 10 or so werewolves. There were 12 guards, 2 women, and a 5 or 6-year-old boy. One of the women had a seductive figure and looked quite flirtatious. Her wolf ears and tail were both white, while the other had a slim figure and large breasts. She looked quite beautiful and gave off the aura of a gentle noblewoman. The flirtatious woman said pitifully, "Young master, please save us. We'll definitely think of a way to repay you in the future. I know we've caused trouble for you, but if you don't save us, we'll definitely die here. Please, young master." Zhao Fu sized up the two beautiful half-beast women, and facing Zhao Fu's possessive gaze, the half-beast women could not help but tremble. The two beautiful women's faces became red, and the flirtatious woman looked at Zhao Fu seductively. Don't seek death. They're people that Azure Wolf City wants to kill. The group of pursuing werewolves came before the merchant group, and one of them, who was missing an eye, coldly yelled. The captain of the guards next to Zhao Fu did not feel any fear facing the 500 or so werewolves. After all, with a terrifying person like Zhao Fu here, he smiled and explained to Zhao Fu, "Sir, Azure Wolf City is one of the 3 wolf cities here. Azure Wolf City is one of the 3 wolf cities here, and it's also the strongest." The flirtatious woman was worried that Zhao Fu would fear Azure Wolf City and refuse to protect them, so she hurriedly said, "Young master, we're the wives of White Wolf City's city lords. We are the wives of White Wolf City's city lords. Now that White Wolf City has been destroyed, we escape. If young master can save us, not only will we serve young master, we will also give young master our treasures." Zhao Fu naturally did not fear the various factions here, because in Zhao Fu's eyes they were all too weak. Even if the flirtatious woman did not say this, Zhao Fu would have agreed. He wanted to have a taste of these 2 beautiful werewolves. "Come in." Zhao Fu had the merchant group open up a gap in their defensive formation, and said to the 2 beautiful women. This caused the 2 beautiful women to look delighted and hurriedly walk into the defensive formation. The Azure Wolf person felt furious and yelled, "You're the ones seeking death! Don't think that you have 1,000 people. Don't forget that this is the territory of the werewolf. Anyone who offends Azure Wolf City will die. Send a few people back to report. Everyone else, kill them." The Azure Wolf person led the group of people and ferociously charged at the merchant group. They gave off powerful auras, and were more powerful than ordinary soldiers. Shing! A clear sword hum suddenly sounded out as Zhao Fu took out a sword and casually slashed out. A sharp sword arc instantly slashed out, chopping off all of the incoming werewolves' heads and causing blood to spurt out. The scene fell into a deathly silence, and the werewolves who had gone back to report were completely dumbfounded. They could not believe what they had just seen. Hundreds of werewolves had been killed in an instant. The merchant group did not look shocked at all, and they instead gave confident smiles. This was their madam's husband, an incredibly terrifying existence. Chapter 1565. As for the remaining wolfmen, Zhao Fu did not attack and looked at the captain of the guards. The captain nodded and chased after them, killing the remaining Azure Wolfmen. The 2 beautiful women and their guards looked at this scene in shock, and they felt that Zhao Fu was incredibly powerful. He had killed 500 Stage 1 soldiers with a single strike, and it was as if even a Saint Realm expert would not be able to do such a thing so easily. Immediately they felt quite delighted. With how powerful Zhao Fu was, they did not have to worry about any danger and their lives would be safe. Zhao Fu's gaze fell on the 2 beautiful women and lightly laughed as he said, "Come with me." The 2 beautiful women shyly nodded, and the gentle-looking woman handed the boy to her guards. The guards all knew what Zhao Fu was doing. He was going to violate their 2 wives. The boy did not know this, and seeing his mother leave, he called out, "Mother, where are you going?" The gentle-looking woman's face became red. She naturally could not tell him that she was going to do it with a man other than his father, so she said softly, "Ling Er, wait for a moment, mother will come out soon. Wait a moment, Nyang Qin will come out soon. This lord only wants to play a game with Nyang Qin." Hearing that it was a game, the boy excitedly said, "Mother, I want to participate as well." The gentle-looking woman shyly replied, "You can only participate after you grow up. You're still too young, so listen to your mother and stay there." The little boy was a little disappointed, but he still responded obediently. Then, his mother and second mother followed the man into the exquisite carriage. His mother and second mother shouted happily. They felt very happy, very excited. The boy thought that the game his mother and second mother were playing with that man would definitely be very fun, or else they would not be so happy. He wanted to play this game when he grew up. Zhao Fu looked at the two lewd wolfmen women and smiled as he tasted them. He grabbed their snow-white ears and tails, causing them to become even more excited. Afterwards, Zhao Fu hugged the two beautiful women and found out their names. The seductive woman was called Lang Mi, and the gentle-looking woman was called Lang Xiao. Lang Mi panted in Zhao Fu's arms and said, "Young master, you're so powerful. You're countless times more powerful than my deceased husband. I feel like we've taken advantage of you." Lang Xiao's face was completely red as she nodded. She had started to serve Zhao Fu with the thought of keeping the little boy alive, but she had never thought that she would be so happy. She also had never thought that she would have such a wanton side. Now, she was unable to face the little boy and felt that she had let down his father. Zhao Fu chuckled and said, "Then you must serve me well in the future. Also, what treasures do you have on you?" Now that he had awakened the Outlander Emperor's star, Zhao Fu was quite interested in everything because anything could be an opportunity. Lang Xiao took out a wolf-shaped piece of white jade and said, "Young master, I'm not sure if I'll be able to find you. This is called the Wolf City Jade, and it's a historical remnant command medallion. The other two cities also have command medallions like this, and if you gather 3 command medallions, you will be able to open a lost Wolfman God Palace every year. This command medallion is one of the reasons why the Azure Wolfmen chased us so relentlessly. Now that young master has saved us, we'll give this Wolf City Jade to you." Zhao Fu took the jade medallion and looked at it, and he felt that he had more things to do. After giving Hu Shan and Niu Luyun a few darkness command medallions, Zhao Fu asked about the locations of the 2 cities before turning into a ray of light and flying away. Lang Xiao and Lang Mi guessed that Zhao Fu had most likely gone to take the other 2 command medallions, but they felt quite worried and said, "Young master, facing the countless wolfmen from the 2 cities by yourself, will it be dangerous?" The other women smiled and said, "You don't know how powerful our husband is. With his strength, destroying 2 cities will not be difficult at all." This caused Lang Xiao and Lang Mi to feel quite delighted. They would be able to take revenge. Boom! Within Azure Wolf City, a massive explosion sounded out as a terrifying aura spread out like a wild gale, sweeping through the entire city. Countless people looked terrified and did not understand what was going on. A ferocious-looking big wolfman walked out with an unsightly expression as he called out, "Sir, who are you? Why have you come to my city in such a domineering manner?" Zhao Fu coldly laughed and said, "Dead people don't need to know." The wolfman leader was already prepared and loudly gave the order to attack. Arrows flew towards Zhao Fu, and sword lights and saber lights slashed towards Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu turned into a ray of light and looked quite disdainful as he vigorously slashed out with his sword. A massive blood-red sword light shot out with terrifying power, slashing apart the incoming arrows and saber lights. The sword light landed within the crowd, and countless people's bodies were cut into pieces as pained cries continuously sounded out. The big wolfman's face paled and understood that even if the entire city worked together, they would not be a match for Zhao Fu. As such, he ordered the other soldiers to charge while he quickly retreated. Countless soldiers roared as they charged at Zhao Fu, and Zhao Fu slashed out sword lights. The sword lights continuously shot out, easily cutting people into pieces without any resistance, and blood dyed the ground red. Just like that, 70,000 to 80,000 wolfman soldiers were killed by Zhao Fu. The scene was incredibly bloody and gave off a dense stench of blood. Zhao Fu caught up to the big wolfman and said condescendingly, "Do you think you can escape?" The big wolfman furiously roared and exploded out with all of his strength as he charged at Zhao Fu. It was a pity that Zhao Fu casually pierced through his chest and killed him. The remaining people looked terrified. They either madly ran away or knelt on the ground and kowtowed, expressing their willingness to submit to Zhao Fu. The surroundings were incredibly chaotic, and all sorts of cries and screams continuously sounded out. The strongest werewolf city in the area was nothing in the face of absolute power. It was easily destroyed without any chance to retaliate. Zhao Fu stretched out his hand and found a wolf city jade on the big wolfman's body. He did not bother with the other wolfmen and went to the city hall by himself. He had wanted to have a good taste of the city lord's wife before leaving, but he found that the city lord was not interested in women. Hearing this, Zhao Fu felt a trace of disappointment as he went to the final Wolfman city. News of Azure Wolf City being easily destroyed quickly spread here, and countless wolfmen gathered together with weapons in hand. They looked serious and nervous as they prepared to defend against that terrifying expert. Chapter 1566. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as a terrifying aura caused everyone in the city to feel as if they had fallen into icy water. Their bodies uncontrollably trembled, and the nervousness in their hearts turned into despair. Countless people looked at the figure that appeared in the sky in fear. It was an existence that was like the god of death. Zhao Fu stood in the sky and found that the city lord below was a beautiful woman with a bewitching figure. She had a pair of black wolf ears and a wolf tail, and her hair was also black. She gave off a proud aura and was not weak at all. However, in front of him, everyone else was like an ant. Zhao Fu said domineeringly, "Are you going to submit to me, or do you want me to slaughter you all?" Facing Zhao Fu's domineering words, no one felt angry and instead felt terrified. This person could easily do such a thing, and countless people looked at their city lord. Facing everyone's gazes, the arrogant woman's expression was quite unsightly. She thought about it and lowered her proud head as she knelt and said, "We're willing to submit." Seeing that their city lord had knelt, the other wolfmen also knelt. Zhao Fu gave a pleased smile and flew to the ground. He landed on the arrogant woman's body and raised her beautiful face. The arrogant woman felt quite angry but also quite afraid, so she did not resist and only glared at Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu lightly laughed as he hugged her and entered a room and started to ravage her. Even though the surrounding wolfmen felt quite afraid, they could not help but feel furious. They had seen their city lord being ravaged by a man, and thinking about how she was continuously ravaged by that man, how could they not feel angry? However, in the next moment, their city lord's lewd voice sounded out, causing everyone's anger to disappear. They now understood that their arrogant city lord greatly enjoyed being ravaged by that man and was madly demanding like a prostitute. No one had ever seen their beautiful city lord like this before. Hearing their city lord's lewd voice, everyone thought of their city lord's arrogant face, and their bodies could not help but react. They did not dare to remain where they were. A few hours later, Zhao Fu pinched Lang Chili's lips and lightly laughed as he said, "You actually wanted to bite me just then." Lang Chili was the arrogant and beautiful city lord from before. Lang Chili glared at Zhao Fu and said, "Who told you to ravage me and not take pity on me at all? Can't I take a bite from you? Moreover, it was just too comfortable and I could not hold back." Hearing this, Zhao Fu smiled and let go of Lang Chili's mouth. Lang Chili's face was red as she lay on Zhao Fu's chest and asked, "Where did you come from? Why did you suddenly come here and start a massacre? Why did you suddenly come here and start a massacre?" Zhao Fu briefly explained what had happened, and Lang Chili understood. She took out a wolf attribute jade pendant and gave it to Zhao Fu. It was black. Now that he had gathered the 3 jade pendants, Zhao Fu immediately got up and prepared to open the Wolfman God Palace. Now that they had gathered the 3 jade pendants, Zhao Fu immediately got up and prepared to open the Wolfman God Palace. Lang Chili felt quite displeased as she said, "You can come as well." Lang Chili nodded in satisfaction and smiled as she leaned against Zhao Fu. They then came to a dilapidated stage and there were some buildings around them. However, they were all in ruins and did not look like they used to. Zhao Fu was on the stage, and he threw the 3 jade pendants into the air. The 3 jade pendants gave off intense lights and fused together, forming a 10-meter wide ring of light. Within the ring of light, scenes of another place could be seen. The Wolfman God Palace had already been opened, and Zhao Fu hugged Lang Qili and flew in. The two of them came to a dark and quiet corridor. There were traces of fighting here, and there were blood and corpses. The wolfmen from the 3 cities had come to this Wolfman God Palace before and had obtained some benefit. However, with their strength, they had not been able to completely explore it. Zhao Fu and Lang Qili did not waste time in the places they had explored, and they came to a large hall. This place was 10,000 meters wide, and there were wolfmen who were 3 meters tall. These wolfmen were different from ordinary wolfmen, and they seemed to have gone berserk. Their heads were savage and their eyes were blood-red. Their hands were like sharp claws, and all of them gave off terrifying auras. Zhao Fu naturally did not feel any fear, and he had Lang Qili stay here for a while before confidently going up. Roar, roar, roar! Seeing Zhao Fu, countless wolfmen furiously roared and ferociously charged at Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu held his sword and unhurriedly charged into the crowd of wolfmen. He slashed out with his sword, sending out sharp sword lights that killed a few wolfmen. Zhao Fu seemed to be taking a leisurely stroll through the crowd of wolfmen, and not a single one of them could harm him. His sword gave off rays of sword light as it killed the incoming wolfmen. Things were quickly resolved, and there were only corpses left on the ground. Lang Qili looked at Zhao Fu in worship. She knew how dangerous this stage was, but Zhao Fu had passed it so easily. They pushed open a door and continued onwards, and they found that there was a 9-meter tall tree in the hall. The tree's trunk was black and its leaves were violet. There were fist-sized red fruits on it, and they looked like curled-up wolves. Lang Qili said in delight, "These are Wolfman holy fruits, and they are called Wolfman God fruits. They are very useful to wolfmen and can raise their bloodline, power, and aptitude." Hearing this, Zhao Fu went up and smiled as he plucked a wolfman fruit and threw it to Lang Qili before digging it out and putting it into the Disaster King ring. They continued onwards. Lang Qili happily ate the Wolfman God fruit as she leaned against Zhao Fu's embrace. She felt that her body and soul had fallen in love with Zhao Fu. Following this, the two of them encountered a large group of berserk wolfmen. There were many times more of them, but under Zhao Fu's immense power, they all turned into corpses, and blood sprayed all over the corridor. After killing this wave of wolfmen, Zhao Fu was delighted to find an altar. The Outlander race would definitely have altars, as they would not only worship godly spirits but also their ancestors. They would also carry out all sorts of sacrifices so they would not lack altars. Moreover, altars all had special abilities. Zhao Fu looked at the altar's information and found that it could give a berserk wolfman bloodline. It was most likely the type of wolfman they had encountered before, and it had to be a wolfman. Moreover, it could only create a few per day. Chapter 1567. Seeing this crystal, Zhao Fu smiled and put it away. He planned to explore this god palace before forcefully fusing it with the Berserk Wolfman crystal. This Berserk Wolfman crystal gave off immense power, and if he fused with its power, he would be dozens of times more powerful than the Berserk Wolfman he had encountered before. This was something that Zhao Fu wanted because only then could he awaken the Outlander Emperor Star. Zhao Fu brought Lang Qili in. In the end, the two of them came to the main god palace, where there was a 20-meter-long 3-headed demon wolf standing guard. It gave off an extremely powerful aura, and it was even more powerful than ordinary saints. However, it was not much of a threat to Zhao Fu. Now, Zhao Fu's cultivation was at the heaven realm. Whoa! The 3-headed demon wolf gave off a terrifying aura as it ferociously rushed at Zhao Fu and Lang Qili, giving off an intense sense of suppression. Lang Qili felt quite afraid facing such a terrifying demon wolf, but she felt incredibly at ease in Zhao Fu's embrace. The fear in her heart disappeared, and she lightly hugged Zhao Fu as she gave a moving smile. Facing the incoming demon wolf, Zhao Fu did not move at all and looked quite relaxed. He stretched out a hand towards the incoming demon wolf, and the chain in his left eye quickly spun. Clang, clang, clang. The sound of chains rang out as chains containing immense power shot towards the demon wolf, binding it up. The demon wolf furiously struggled but could not break free at all, and its 3 heads furiously glared at Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu did not kill this demon wolf, because he felt that he could subdue it and bring it back to pull the carriage. There had been quite a few women recently, and the carriage was quite cramped, so he decided to switch to a larger carriage. Zhao Fu pushed open the final door, and within a spacious hall, there was only a 3-meter-tall statue. It stood at the center of the hall. This statue was of a woman who was extremely beautiful and had a seductive figure. She had a pair of wolf ears and a wolf tail, and she gave off a primal and wild aura. The statue was made of stone, and it gave off a powerful godly spirit aura. Those who disturb my slumber deserve death. Just as Zhao Fu was about to go up, a shout sounded out. The statue gave off an intense silver light as a silver-haired woman who looked exactly like the statue appeared. Her eyes ferociously looked at Zhao Fu as she turned into a black blur and shot towards him. In just a second, the woman appeared in front of Zhao Fu and her hands turned into sharp claws that gave off immense power as they grabbed towards Zhao Fu. A trace of disdain appeared on Zhao Fu's face, and before the claws could reach him, he vigorously punched out, hitting the wolfman godly spirit's chest. A muffled explosion sounded out as the wolfman godly spirit flew back 10 or so meters and crashed to the ground, a trace of blood leaking out of his mouth. "Is that all you've got? How dare you be so arrogant in front of this emperor? So what if you're a god?" Zhao Fu looked at the wolfman godly spirit and gave off a domineering aura, and his voice contained a trace of arrogance. The wolfman godly spirit furiously roared, and her body exploded out with silver light. In the next moment, she appeared in front of Zhao Fu again, much faster than before. Boom! Right after she appeared in front of Zhao Fu, before she could even attack Zhao Fu's divine realm domain spread out, sending the wolfman godly spirit flying back. The wolfman godly spirit crashed to the ground and cried out with a pale face, "You're a holy son!" Zhao Fu lightly laughed and said, "You only found out now?" Following this, Zhao Fu stretched out a hand and grabbed at the air, causing chains to shoot out and bind up the wolfman godly spirit. Lang Qili felt quite shocked. This was the first time she had seen someone act like this towards a godly spirit and act so disdainfully. This was a godly spirit that countless people worshipped. Just then, the wolfman godly spirit had exploded out with terrifying godly spirit power, and Lang Qili felt as if her body was no longer under her control. She instinctively wanted to kneel and worship her, but such a powerful godly spirit was actually so weak in front of Zhao Fu. Also, why had the wolfman godly spirit called Zhao Fu a holy son with a pale face? Did Zhao Fu really have some sort of terrifying identity? Did he make even godly spirits feel fear? Zhao Fu let go of Lang Qili's hand and gave a trace of a smile as he came before the bound wolfman godly spirit and took off her clothes before starting to violate her. Lang Qili once again felt quite shocked. It was the first time someone had dared to do such a thing, and he was violating a godly spirit right in front of her. Just who was Zhao Fu? Lang Qili felt quite curious about just what sort of existence Zhao Fu was. His identity was definitely incredibly terrifying and was not someone people like her could come into contact with. Seeing that the wolfman godly spirit no longer resisted and started to cooperate with Zhao Fu, she looked quite pleased and started to become lewd. The wolfman godly spirit's reaction was the same as before, and adding on the stimulation from the scene, Lang Qili's face became slightly red and her eyes became slightly lustful. She could not help but join in and soon fell. After going at it intensely, the two women lay in Zhao Fu's embrace with red faces as they panted. Zhao Fu looked at the wolfman godly spirit in his embrace. She was like a tamed female wolf. Zhao Fu quite liked wild women because he felt like conquering them. Holy Sun, now that my body is yours, you have to take me away and help me recover my power. The Wolfman goddess said with a trace of shyness as she looked at Zhao Fu with her beautiful eyes. Zhao Fu felt that the Wolfman goddess's body was extremely powerful. Zhao Fu smiled as he replied, my kingdom is lacking godly spirits. I'll make you the most powerful godly spirit among the Wolfman godly spirit. The Wolfman godly spirit gave a happy smile as she said, I believe in you, Holy Sun. Lying on the other side of Zhao Fu, Lang Qili asked curiously, Husband, just who are you? Just who are you? Zhao Fu lightly laughed as he replied, You'll know in the future. The three of them cuddled for a while before putting on their clothes again. Zhao Fu put away the statue. This was the Wolfman godly spirit's true body. After coming outside, the ferocious demon wolf looked quite wronged when it saw its owner come out, as if it had been bullied by Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu loosened the chains binding it, and the demon wolf ran over and affectionately rubbed against the Wolfman godly spirit. It seemed that Zhao Fu did not even need to subdue it. The Wolfman godly spirit was enough to make the demon wolf obey him. After leaving the God Palace, Zhao Fu had the merchant group come to Black Wolf City, which was Lang Qili's city. He had people build a massive carriage, using the best materials and all sorts of beautiful jewels to decorate it, making it look incredibly beautiful and luxurious. The women were not surprised that Lang Qili had submitted to Zhao Fu, but they were quite shocked that the Wolfman godly spirit had also submitted to Zhao Fu. After all, with their strength, they could not come into contact with godly spirits. Chapter 1568. Boom! An explosion sounded out as Zhao Fu tried to refine the Berserk Wolfman crystal, but the Berserk Wolfman crystal erupted with a blood-red flame and exploded out with a powerful aura, forming a massive wolfman that roared at Zhao Fu. Facing all of this, Zhao Fu's expression did not change. The golden pupil in his left eye continuously spun, and a few chains shot out, binding the blood-red aura wolfman and pulling it towards him. The blood-red wolfman vigorously resisted and furiously roared, but it was unable to break free and was gradually pulled in front of Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu stretched out a hand towards the blood-red wolfman, and a divine mark appeared on his palm, exploding out with a shocking attractive force. The blood-red wolfman was covered by this massive attractive force, and its expression became one of terror. It madly struggled, but it was still gradually sucked in by Zhao Fu's hand. In the end, the blood-red wolfman disappeared and was completely sucked into Zhao Fu's body. Zhao Fu closed his eyes and started to refine this power. The blood-red flame gradually fused into Zhao Fu's body, causing Zhao Fu's body to gradually heat up. However, this only lasted for a short while before the heat stopped, and Zhao Fu once again felt a pain on his back. A blood-red wolfman totem appeared on Zhao Fu's back, and a trace of a wolfman's aura appeared on Zhao Fu's body. Apart from this, there were no other changes. Sensing that he had refined the Berserk Wolfman crystal, Zhao Fu smiled and left the room, preparing to set off. By now, the carriage had been completely reconstructed. It was 15 meters long and 10 meters wide, and there were exquisite carvings on it. There were all sorts of jewels hanging on it, and it gave off an enchanting light. It was covered with high-quality carpets and had tables and chairs, making it look like a large room. Moreover, because it was made of precious materials, it was incredibly sturdy and had decent defenses. It also gave off a defensive barrier. Pulling such a large carriage was not difficult at all for the three-headed demon wolf, as it was 20 or so meters long. Moreover, it had Saint Realm strength, so pulling a carriage that was 10 or so times larger was no problem at all. Zhao Fu also liked this carriage. It was luxurious and domineering. After resting here for a while, Zhao Fu and the women continued onwards. Lang Qili left everything in Black Wolf City to others and followed Zhao Fu. On the other hand, Lang Xiaro wanted to leave her child here and have him become the city lord of Wolf City. However, if she wasn't by his side, many things might happen. Moreover, staying by Zhao Fu's side was much better than being the city lord, so she gave up on that thought. Everyone continued moving forward. The huge carriage was in the middle, and Zhao Fu and the girls sat in it, feeling very comfortable and spacious. Hu Shan flirtatiously leaned into Zhao Fu's embrace. "Husband, isn't it time to experience the practicality of this carriage?" Zhao Fu lightly laughed as he slapped her bottom and said, "You little slut." Hu Shan hugged Zhao Fu's waist and said coquettishly, "It's all your fault that I'm so lewd. It's all your fault, husband. Who told you to be so amazing and make us all so lewd? Look, even our sisters can't wait anymore." Zhao Fu looked up and saw that the women's faces were red and their eyes were misty, giving off seductive auras. Intense sounds soon came from within the carriage, as well as the women's lewd cries. The merchant group once again came to a wetland. The ground here was wet and there was a lot of water. There were aquatic grasses growing on the ground, and some places were also covered with water. They had to be careful here because some places were covered with grass, but there were puddles below. If they stepped in, they would fall into them. Some places were covered with mud, and it would be difficult to climb out after falling in. Because they had come here many times, the merchant group had their own route. They walked in places where there were fewer aquatic grasses and the ground was tougher. Suddenly, countless footsteps sounded out. It was the sound of countless people stepping on water. The captain of the merchant group understood that another group of reckless people had come to attack the merchant group. Now, everyone in the merchant group was filled with confidence, and with that terrifying expert, they did not have to fear even great floods and ferocious beasts. This time, it was a group of lizard men. These lizard men had lizard-like heads and humanoid bodies. Their skin was covered with a layer of scales, and their hands and legs were claws. They also had a lizard tail, and they all looked quite ferocious. There were also some lizard men that had the same appearance and body as humans, but they had a lizard tail. There were many lizard men, roughly 10,000 or so of them. Without so many people, just seeing the three-headed demon wolf's size, they would not dare to attack. After the 10,000 or so lizard men surrounded the merchant group, a ferocious-looking male lizard man arrogantly yelled, "If you want to live, kneel down and your elder might let you go." With how ferocious the lizard men were, they would not let them go. Moreover, not only did they want the goods, but they also wanted to capture these people. If ordinary people saw so many lizard men, they would have long since knelt on the ground and begged for mercy. However, the captain of the merchant group coldly laughed, "You're all seeking death. Do you know what kind of merchant group we are? You're just a bunch of low-grade trash. If you scram now, you can live. When our lord gets angry, he'll kill you all." The ferocious-looking male lizard man felt quite surprised, but he became furious. No one had ever dared to act so arrogantly in front of him. Moreover, they had the advantage in numbers and were quite powerful. Had this person been scared silly? However, the male lizard man did not have the time to continue speaking, and he yelled, "Kill! Kill all who resist, but make sure to leave some alive to offer sacrifices to our great ancestor. Only with the blood of living people will our ancestor be happy and give us even greater power. Kill!" The lizard men excitedly roared and charged at the merchant group, giving off a massive aura as they prepared to launch a ferocious attack. However, they felt quite confused. The merchant group had only formed a defensive formation and did not seem to be afraid of fighting at all. The countless lizard men could not understand why, but they did not have the time to think about it. Suddenly, rays of black light giving off powerful auras shot out from the luxurious and exquisite carriage at the center and landed on the ground. They were soldiers dressed in black armor with cold expressions and gave off terrifying auras. Sensing these soldiers' auras, the countless lizardmen's faces paled, and their bodies became weak. These were all stage 6 soldiers, and they did not hesitate to turn and run. Anyone who went up would be an idiot. Chapter 1569. However, even if they wanted to run, they did not have an opportunity to do so. The darkness soldiers charged up with their weapons, sending out sharp lights that killed the lizard men one by one. There was no suspense in the battle at all. The lizard men looked terrified as they tried to run, but they were mercilessly killed by cold lights. Blood flew everywhere as cries continuously sounded out. In just a short while, all of the lizard men had died and turned into corpses on the ground. Even before they died, they still looked terrified. The ferocious-looking lizard man had been tied up and brought in front of the exquisite carriage, and he looked terrified. He had never thought that this ordinary merchant group would have such terrifying power. Moreover, with such terrifying power, why would they come to such a poor place as a merchant group? Just any random thing they did would be many times more powerful than this merchant group. Kneel! The captain of the merchant group coldly shouted as he kicked the lizardman's leg. The lizard man howled in pain and knelt on the ground, not daring to resist at all. The 10,000 or so lizard men he had brought with him would all become corpses. A young man's voice sounded out from within the carriage. I want to know if there's anything interesting here or if there's anything important. If you can satisfy me, I'll spare your life. Otherwise, I'll peel off your skin and use it as a carpet. The lizard man hurriedly nodded in fear. Within the carriage, Zhao Fu was enjoying the service of the Wolfman goddess and Niu Daodu while hugging the red-faced women and listening to the lizardman's words. In order to survive, the male lizard man spilled everything he knew about this place, including the matters of his tribe. He came from a nearby lizard man tribe, which had 200,000 or so people, and was ranked third in this place. There were 4 large lizard man tribes in this place, and they were usually enemies. What made Zhao Fu more concerned was that it was almost time for the lizard men to offer sacrifices to their ancestors. As such, the lizard men were capturing all sorts of living creatures to offer sacrifices to their ancestors. Zhao Fu felt quite interested, and after thinking about it, he said, "Take me to your tribe to have a look." The male lizard man looked quite troubled. If a terrifying person like Zhao Fu came to their tribe, it would be a disaster for their tribe. However, he had already told Zhao Fu the tribe's location, so even if he didn't say it, Zhao Fu would be able to find it. In the end, for the sake of his own life, the male lizard man agreed and led the caravan back to his tribe. A few hours later, the caravan arrived at their tribe. There were many tents inside, and the walls outside were built with stones. There were also teams of lizard men patrolling outside, vigilant of any possible dangers. Just as the merchant group arrived at the entrance of the tribe, there was a woman with a pair of large breasts and a beautiful face. She had short gray hair and a lizard tail. She looked quite unruly, and she stood at the entrance. She shouted angrily, "Xia, what's wrong with you? Why did you only come back now? Also, why did you bring these people to our tribe without tying them up? That's right, where are the people you brought? I don't see a single one." Xia was the ferocious-looking male lizard man from before. The woman could not understand why Xia had brought a merchant group over. Their people had attacked these merchant groups and stolen their people's things and used them as sacrifices. Even if it was to trick the merchant group and lure them over, they should have warned them beforehand so they could be prepared. However, Xia had not done this. More importantly, Xia had taken 10,000 or so people with him. They were all brave warriors of the tribe, so why had none of them returned? This made her feel quite confused. Who is she? Hearing the voice from within the carriage, the male lizard man explained in a flattering manner, "She's my wife and the daughter of the tribe's chief. She usually relies on her father and is very unruly. Sir, please don't mind her. Tell her to come over." Hearing this, the male lizard man, Xia, felt a trace of a bad premonition. However, thinking about the countless darkness soldiers and the mysterious and powerful person in the carriage, Xia made a decision. Xia smiled as he loudly called out, "Good wife, we'll talk about this later." Let's talk about this later. I've prepared something special for you in the carriage. Come and take a look. Hearing her husband's words, the woman's face became slightly red. Looking at the exquisite and luxurious carriage, she knew that there would definitely be something very precious. The woman felt quite happy. It seemed that her husband treated her quite well. After coming to the carriage, the woman lightly harumphed and said, "If you don't have anything good, I'll deal with you later." Shia smiled and quickly nodded, but his smile was quite unsightly. However, the woman did not mind and felt quite happy and excited. She wanted to see what her husband had prepared for her, and she smiled as she boarded the carriage. After walking in, Zhao Fu saw a group of naked women and an incredibly handsome young man looking at him with a trace of a smile. Immediately, the woman felt that something was wrong and quickly turned to run. However, it was too late, and Zhao Fu grabbed her and brought her in front of him. "Save me!" After being brought in front of Zhao Fu, the woman was pressed down by Zhao Fu's body. Sensing Zhao Fu's terrifying power and his intentions, she cried out. This voice spread out, causing the people in the tribe to feel quite startled. They understood that their young mistress was in danger, and they quickly rushed out with weapons, wanting to save her. Boom! 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 Explosions sounded out as black rays of light giving off powerful auras shot out and attacked the lizardmen. There were over 10,000 of them, and their terrifying auras caused the entire tribe to feel a chill. Their expressions fell, and they knew that something big had happened in the tribe. Some people hurried over, while others ran. The darkness soldiers started to kill, causing blood to fly everywhere and pained cries to continuously sound out. No one could resist at all, and they were being slaughtered. The tribe fell into chaos, and countless people looked incredibly displeased and terrified. The lizard woman's lewd cries sounded out from within the carriage, and she was like a prostitute as she begged Zhao Fu. This caused Xie to feel quite furious, and he inwardly cursed, "Slut! When I was doing her, I was never so lewd, but now she's like a prostitute under another man." She was resisting just then, but isn't she enjoying it now? Chapter 1570. One of them was an ordinary-looking middle-aged lizard man who gave off a powerful aura, and the other was a voluptuous, beautiful woman with a lizard tail who gave off a lewd aura. She was a beautiful middle-aged lizard man. The beautiful woman was forced onto the carriage, and she looked terrified as she entered the carriage. She saw a handsome young man ravaging her daughter. Seeing this scene and smelling the enchanting aura within the carriage, the beautiful woman's heart gradually calmed down. She had long since heard her daughter's lewd cries, and seeing it for herself, she could see that her daughter was indeed enjoying it. The beautiful woman felt her body heat up, and she could not help but lick her lips. Her face became red and her eyes became lustful, and she took the initiative to join in. Soon, the beautiful woman's lewd cries sounded out from within the carriage, making Xie feel quite envious. He had wanted this beautiful and lewd mother-in-law for a long time, but he had never had a chance to touch her. If he could have a taste of her, he would have been willing to shorten his lifespan by 10 years. The middle-aged lizard man looked furious as he was forced to kneel on the ground. He heard his daughter and wife being ravaged, but what he could not accept was that his wife and daughter were enjoying it, and they were incredibly excited. A while later, the beautiful woman stretched out her head, her face red and looking incredibly beautiful. She powerlessly said to the middle-aged lizard man, "Husband, don't worry. That sir has already promised us that he won't kill you. For your safety, I'll continue to serve that sir, so don't be angry." After saying this, the beautiful woman hurriedly returned to the carriage and leapt into Zhao Fu's embrace as she said hungrily, "Good man, I beg you, I want more." Hearing his wife's lewd cries from within the carriage, the middle-aged lizardman's heart tightened, and he felt quite complicated. On one hand, he was furious, but on the other hand, he was only alive because of their service. Afterwards, Zhao Fu hugged the lizardman mother and daughter. The mother was called Shi Lang and the daughter was called Shi Gu, and he asked them about their ancestors' sacrifice. He found out that the Lizardman tribe would hold a sacrifice every year to obtain the blessings of the Lizardman ancestor. It was an event that the Lizardman tribe placed great importance on. The more people they sacrificed, the more blessings they would receive. Up to 10,000 people could be sacrificed, but to the Lizardmen tribe, this was a massive number of people, and it was impossible to gather all of them. As such, they normally only sacrificed 1,000 or so people. Furthermore, the more people there were, the stronger the blessings of the ancestors would be, and the more people there would be. Zhao Fu felt that he had something to do, and just as he was about to leave, Zhen Lang hugged Zhao Fu and said flirtatiously, "Good man, leave these matters to your subordinate. Wait for me to rest for a while, then we can continue to enjoy ourselves." Her daughter, Shi Gu, smiled and said, "That's right. Good husband, I also want to rest for a while before continuing. Please don't leave." Zhao Fu thought about it and felt that it would be better for him to go. This matter was more important. Then, Zhao Fu left the carriage and went to the nearest attracting tribe, which was also the weakest. Boom! A ferocious aura swept out like a wild gale, causing the countless tents below to sway. Some tents were even torn open, and countless lizardmen looked up at the godlike figure in the sky in terror. Zhao Fu's voice was cold and domineering as he said, "Have your sacrifice come out and choose 10,000 lizardmen. I'll give you 10 minutes to prepare. You don't have the right to refuse, because I'll kill all of you." Following this, Zhao Fu waved his hand and rays of black light shot out, turning into powerful darkness soldiers that gave off powerful auras as they stood in the sky. This caused the lizardmen below to feel even more terrified. There were only 100,000 or so people in the Lizardmen tribe, and a few thousand stage 6 darkness soldiers could easily slaughter them. Zhao Fu still had to go to another tribe, so he left this tribe's matters to the darkness soldiers. Once the time was up and they tried to run, he would kill them all. Of course, he had to keep the sacrifice and the 10,000 lizardmen alive. The 100,000 or so lizardmen tribe felt despair and did not dare to disobey Zhao Fu's orders, and they did as Zhao Fu said. After dealing with this tribe's matters, Zhao Fu gave off a powerful aura and headed to the second tribe. This tribe had nearly 300,000 people, and when Zhao Fu descended, there were still some people who dared to shoot arrows at him. This made Zhao Fu feel quite displeased. They were simply seeking death. He released the 10,000 darkness soldiers and gave the order to attack. As long as they could keep 10,000 people alive and the sacrifice alive, it would be fine. The darkness soldiers rushed down and started a massacre, causing countless howls to sound out. Blood flew everywhere, and the tribe fell into chaos as more and more people died. Only now did the lizardmen feel fear. A handsome lizardman young man flew into the air with some people and hurriedly said, "Sir, we're willing to submit to you. We are willing to submit to you. Please don't continue killing." Zhao Fu coldly harumphed and said, "I need a sacrifice and 10,000 lizardmen. Hurry up and prepare them. Otherwise, even if you beg for mercy, it'll be useless. Also, offer your wife to me to appease my anger." Beside him was a seductively dressed woman with light blue hair and a lizard tail. She was quite beautiful, and she gave off an intellectual and steady aura. It was as if she had tried to persuade her husband to quickly submit so that he could live. Her expression was calm and did not change at all. The handsome lizardman young man felt quite angry, but facing Zhao Fu's terrifying power, he felt incredibly powerless. On one side was his beloved wife, and on the other side were countless lizardmen. He felt quite troubled. However, his wife calmly said, "Offer me up. If you refuse, not only will you die, but the entire tribe will die as well. In the end, I'll still be his. I'll also properly serve him, so you won't have to worry about him harming the tribe." The young man looked at his wife guiltily. Thinking about how she was doing this for him, he felt quite bad and could not do such a thing. Seeing her husband in such pain, the wife felt quite guilty and felt a stab of pain in her heart. However, there was nothing else she could do. Not wanting to make things difficult for her husband or make him feel guilty, the wife flew over to Zhao Fu's side and threw herself into Zhao Fu's embrace as she said calmly, "Sir, I'm yours now. Now that I am yours, you can let them go." Zhao Fu lightly smiled and hugged the woman as he turned into a ray of light and flew over the horizon. Chapter 1571. This made her feel quite panicked. Even though she had calmly offered herself to Zhao Fu, she still deeply loved her husband. If there was a better way, she definitely would not have done this. She had thought that her body and mind would be loyal to her husband, and even if she had been violated by Zhao Fu, it would not have been her intention. She would only accept her husband's love and would not like this kind of man. Moreover, even if her body was not clean, she only had her husband in her heart and would be loyal to him. She was waiting to be tired of Zhao Fu so that she could return to her husband's side and live happily with him again. But now, everything was different from what she had imagined. Right now, in his arms, smelling his scent, she felt that her body was betraying her husband, and it was also out of her control. She couldn't help but want to do it with him. Zhao Fu looked at the aroused woman in his embrace and gave a trace of a smile as he kissed her lips. The woman could not help but intensely respond, unwilling to let go even if she could not breathe. Zhao Fu stopped first and smiled as he said, "I'll taste you later." The woman's face was red as she softly nodded, feeling both expectant and uncomfortable. Zhao Fu gave off a massive aura as he once again landed on the largest lizardman tribe. He waved his hand, and countless darkness soldiers gave off powerful auras that covered the entire tribe. He had dozens of darkness command medallions and could summon 50,000 or so stage 6 soldiers, so he did not have to worry about not having enough people. The lizardman tribe below was the largest lizardman tribe. There were 400,000 lizardmen here and 50,000 or so soldiers. Facing the countless soldiers in the sky, such a powerful faction looked incredibly despaired and directly knelt on the ground, expressing their submission, not daring to resist at all. The tribe's leader hurriedly came out. It was a middle-aged man with a lizardman's head, and even though his wife had a beautiful figure, she had a lizardman's head and was covered with gray scales. Zhao Fu naturally was not interested in her. "May I ask why Sir has come here?" The tribe's leader respectfully bowed as he asked Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu was quite pleased with this attitude, and he was much more tactful than the others. He said, "I need your sacrifices and 10,000 people." The middle-aged lizardman smiled and hurriedly agreed. He then called for a priest and brought 10,000 people. Some of them were lizardmen, but some were from other races. Zhao Fu did not care about these people. As long as they were alive, that was enough. Zhao Fu took notice of the priestess. She was a mature woman who wore a black cloak. She had long white hair and a white lizard tail, and she was quite good-looking. She looked quite serious-looking and made people feel a trace of fear. "My lord, is it okay now?" The woman from before could not help but ask with a red face and watery eyes, giving off the feeling of love. As she lay in Zhao Fu's embrace and continuously smelled Zhao Fu's scent, she threw everything else to the back of her mind. She did not care about her husband anymore. All she wanted was to do it with Zhao Fu. She wanted it madly and hungrily, and if it wasn't for the fact that she had a steady personality and could endure it, she would have madly begged Zhao Fu to do it with her. Zhao Fu thought about it and decided that he was not in a rush, so he smiled and nodded. He then picked up the priestess and walked into a room to enjoy them. Now that the woman's desire had been satisfied, she madly did it with Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu was now her most beloved husband, and the serious-looking priest's face was red as he endured Zhao Fu's ravings, giving off shameful sounds. The chief of the tribe felt quite shocked as he heard the lewd sounds within the room. The priestess had a very high status in the tribe and was very powerful. Normally, he had to give her face and did not dare to offend her. That priestess was incredibly serious and no one dared to offend her. However, no one had expected her to be so lewd, and they felt quite envious. Only someone as powerful as Zhao Fu had the right to enjoy such a woman. Afterwards, Zhao Fu hugged the two women. The woman from before, who was the wife of the previous tribe chief, was called Shi Yi, and the priestess was called Shi Hua. Shi Ye's face was red and she panted within Zhao Fu's embrace. She had regained her calm, and thinking about how wild she had been just then, she could not help but feel guilty. Her body and soul now belonged to Zhao Fu, and even if Zhao Fu told her to go back, she did not want to. Shi Hua's face was also red as she looked at Zhao Fu with her beautiful eyes and said softly, "Sir, my body belongs to you now. Now that my body belongs to you, can you take me away from here? I want to go further and see the outside world." With her abilities, she could tell that Zhao Fu's identity was quite terrifying, which was why she said such a thing. Zhao Fu lightly smiled and nodded, and Shi Hua smiled and took the initiative to kiss Zhao Fu. Following this, the three of them put on their clothes and went outside, and they brought the people back to the tribe from before. Now, there were 4 priestesses, so they could sacrifice 40,000 people. They had already built a massive stage, and the people who were going to be sacrificed looked terrified. They were tied up and could not escape at all. The 4 priestesses stood at the center, each in a direction. The most powerful one was Shi Hua, and the other 3 priestesses used Shi Hua as their leader to offer sacrifices to their ancestors. Shi Hua took out a piece of amber wrapped around a lizard and raised it high into the air as she chanted. The amber gave off a faint light and floated into the air. The other 3 priestesses also raised their hands and chanted towards the amber. Boom! The 4 priestesses suddenly exploded out with shocking auras as 4 different aura flames appeared around their bodies. 4 massive waves of power entered the amber, causing it to give off boundless light. A massive lizard giving off a massive aura appeared in the sky. This lizard was 1,000 meters long and was covered with steel-like black scales. It had 4 sharp claws and a pair of pure black vertical pupils. There was a short gray horn on its forehead, and it gave off a threatening aura. Clang, 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 Zhao Fu directly acted and countless chains shot out, binding the image and pulling it towards Zhao Fu. This image was the lizard people's ancestor, and Zhao Fu wanted to devour its power to obtain the lizard people's ancestor's bloodline and power. Otherwise, if he used the power blessing, it would disappear, and it would only be able to give the lizard people a bit of power. Zhao Fu did not care about such power at all. Chapter 1572. Roar, roar, roar. The massive lizard furiously roared, and it continuously struggled, giving off terrifying auras. However, facing Zhao Fu's power, it was unable to resist at all, and it was gradually pulled towards Zhao Fu. At that moment, Zhao Fu stretched out a hand towards the lizard ancestor, and a black light shined from his palm as a divine seal once again appeared. This was the king's seal, and it had become a divine seal along with Zhao Fu's bloodline. Boom! A massive suction force exploded out as the surrounding air was sucked in, forming a wild gale. Sensing this suction force, the lizard ancestor panicked and continuously struggled, but it was a pity that it was sucked into Zhao Fu's body. Following this, Zhao Fu closed his eyes and started to refine it. He gradually absorbed the massive amount of lizard power, and his body shined with a black light. He felt a pain on his back as a lizard man totem appeared. Adding on this lizard person totem, Zhao Fu had obtained a jackal person totem, a wolfman person totem, and a minotaur person totem. At the same time, he had obtained the power of the 4 races, which was quite a harvest. After resting at the lizard tribe for a while, Zhao Fu and the merchant group continued onwards. As for the lizard people from the large tribes, Zhao Fu did not harm them, and he gave the leaders of the 2 tribes some compensation for taking their wives. However, they were now willing to follow Zhao Fu, and were not forced to follow him. Hearing his wife's lewd moans from the carriage, the middle-aged lizard man knew that she would definitely leave. If it wasn't for the fact that he normally did his best to satisfy her, she would have long since seduced another lizard person. The handsome lizard man had never thought that his wife would take the initiative to leave with that person, and he felt incredibly heartbroken. She, his wife, looked incredibly guilty and could only apologize. Even though she still had deep feelings for her husband, her body and soul needed Zhao Fu more. She gave the precious treasure that Zhao Fu had given her to the handsome lizard man and told him to take good care of himself and find a good wife. She then ignored the handsome lizardman's pleas and left with Zhao Fu. As for the 40,000 lizardmen on the altar, they had all turned into dried corpses the moment the ancestor lizard had appeared. This was because the ancestor lizard relied on their life force to survive. The caravan continued forward. Indescribable sounds continued to ring out from within the carriage, and with the addition of the 4 lizard women, the situation became even more intense. This was because lizards were inherently lustful. Zhao Fu's journey was really carefree and blissful, making countless people envious and jealous. In this world, it was impossible to concentrate. Men needed more women to become stronger, and women needed more men to become stronger. People always envied beautiful things, such as unswerving loyalty, unchanging love, and sincere love. That kind of beautiful things only existed in books and movies. There were not so many beautiful things in reality. People in the world would always change because of various things. No one would maintain a burning passion for a person or a matter forever. For example, first love. How many people would keep their feelings for their first love, instead of gradually turning cold over time and staying with their first love forever? How many of them would there be? Would there be a second, third, or fourth love? Just like before, people envied beautiful things, but that was not true. For example, many people could not withstand the test of human nature and refused to be honest with their bodies. Perhaps there were some beautiful things, but there were very few of them, and most people would not be like that. A harem was the way of the king. Perhaps some people would feel quite angry about such a thing, saying that they were unswerving loyalty to someone. However, a few years later, or even a few months apart, if a better person appeared by their side, would they still be able to say such a thing? Of course, perhaps they would not say such a thing, as they would always be single. A day or so later, the merchant group finally left the vast border and arrived at a kingdom. This kingdom was a kobold kingdom. Similarly, some of the kobolds here had dog-like heads and humanoid bodies, while others looked like humans but had dog ears and tails. Apart from that, they also looked like humans in every other way. As a kingdom, no matter what kind of ferocious race they would have strict laws and would not randomly kill or rob. The merchant group was relatively safe within a kingdom. Zhao Fu sat by the window, and the beautiful sacrificial lizard lay in Zhao Fu's embrace as she looked around curiously. There were also kobolds in Qin City, but this place was much more prosperous and bustling. The merchant group would sell some of their goods here and bring the rest back to the Fox Kingdom. In the end, Hu Shan would hand over the merchant group to someone else, and she would leave with Zhao Fu. After leaving the kobold city, the merchant group went into the wilderness. The wilderness was much more dangerous, as there were bandits, and it was 10 or so times more dangerous than within a city. Not long after, the traveling caravan encountered 2 people. One of them had the black ears and tail of a wolf, and she was tall and slim. She had long, black hair and a cold expression. Her gaze was quite sharp and she wore black clothes. The other was a young girl with golden dog ears and tail. She had a cute face and a petite figure. Both of them were covered with blood, and the young girl had fainted. The other woman was carrying the young girl and advancing with great difficulty. The woman seemed to have suffered heavy injuries, and her face was pale and she looked quite weak. When she saw the merchant group, she immediately became wary and went to the other side. She did not want to interact with the merchant group, as it was possible for the merchant group to harm them in the wilderness. Of course, it was safer than bandits, or else the woman would have long since escaped with the young girl. Seeing that the two women were not in any danger, the captain of the merchant group did not mind and continued onwards. Suddenly, the young girl behind the woman coughed up a large mouthful of blood, causing the woman to panic. She hurriedly placed the young girl on the ground and checked her injuries. She took out a few healing medicines and fed them to the young girl, but they were not very effective. This made the woman feel quite worried, and she thought of something. Looking at the merchant group, she knew that they definitely had even more precious healing medicines, so she called out, "Wait, I have something to talk to you about." Hearing this, the merchant group stopped and the captain came to the woman's side and asked, "What do you want?" The woman said anxiously, "Do you have any precious healing spirit medicines in your caravan? I want them no matter the price, please hurry." Chapter 1573. Hearing Zhao Fu's words, the captain of the merchant group immediately understood and smiled as he said, "Miss, our sir has an extremely precious spirit medicine. Saving the girl in your arms shouldn't be a problem." The captain's sudden change made the woman feel that something was off. She wanted to refuse and quickly leave, but looking at the girl in her arms, she hesitated. The captain hurriedly said, "Miss, if you don't save the girl, she might die. Time is precious." Seeing this, the woman made up her mind. No matter what happened, as long as they could save the girl, she said, "Take me to your sir." The merchant group captain smiled and brought the two women to the carriage as he said respectfully, "Sir, we've come. I've brought the people for you." Zhao Fu's voice sounded out from within the carriage, "Let them in." The captain nodded and gestured for the woman to carry the girl into the carriage. The woman did not hesitate and hurriedly brought the girl into the carriage. Within the carriage, there were many beautiful women with red faces as they breathed raggedly. There was also a man who smiled at her. The woman was not too surprised because she had sensed that something was off and guessed that there was something going on within the carriage. She said calmly, "I can give you my body, but you must save my young master." Zhao Fu lightly laughed and replied, "No problem." Zhao Fu came to the girl's side and examined her injuries. He found that her injuries were quite severe, and ordinary medicinal pills would not be of any use. He took out a precious medicinal pill and fed it to the girl, and he used his divine bloodline power to help her refine the medicinal pill. The girl lay on the soft carpet while Zhao Fu sat beside her and placed his hand on her abdomen. The treatment would take some time, so Zhao Fu turned and looked at the woman. Seeing that the girl's complexion was becoming more and more rosy, the woman inwardly let out a sigh of relief and started to serve Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu enjoyed the woman's service as he healed the girl's injuries. After the girl's injuries had stabilized, he started to do it with the woman's body. The woman didn't expect that she would be so happy being violated by this bastard man. She wanted to hold it back, but she couldn't and started moaning in a lewd manner. During this time, the young woman slowly woke up and saw the person she trusted the most doing it with another man. Her face became red and she closed her eyes, pretending to be unconscious. However, when the woman collapsed to the ground, the man actually pressed on top of her. The young girl's face turned red, and she symbolically struggled a few times before cooperating with Zhao Fu. Because she had been there for so long, her body also had a strong reaction. After the matter was over, the woman came to her senses. When she saw that Zhao Fu had violated her young master, she opened her mouth to bite Zhao Fu. However, the restrictive spell on her body caused her to collapse into Zhao Fu's arms. Zhao Fu pinched her mouth and asked with a chuckle, "Why do creatures like to bite people?" The woman glared at Zhao Fu and scolded angrily, "You bastard! Not only did you want my body, but you also didn't let my young master off." The girl said shyly, "Sister Lan, I don't blame this young master. I did it willingly. Don't be like this." The woman was still quite angry and looked at Zhao Fu as she said, You must treat my young master better in the future, or else I won't let you off. Zhao Fu smiled as he replied, I understand. Only then was the woman satisfied. She lay in Zhao Fu's embrace and listened to Zhao Fu's heartbeat. She started to slightly pant, and the intense heat from before had not yet passed. Zhao Fu started to ask about them. It turned out that the young girl was a princess called Go Lingling, and the woman was her guard called Go Lan. However, the young girl's identity was quite special, which was that she was an illegitimate daughter and was not acknowledged by the royal family. It was because someone had chased after them that she had suffered such severe injuries. Go Lingling said worriedly, Young master, will we cause trouble for you? If that's the case, we'll leave later. Seeing how considerate Go Lingling was, Zhao Fu lightly smiled and said with a trace of love, Don't worry, I've destroyed at least 100 kobold kingdoms like this, they're nothing in my eyes. Go Lan felt quite surprised. Even though she knew that Zhao Fu's identity was not simple, hearing Zhao Fu's tone, it seemed that he was even more terrifying than she had expected. She said in delight, Then can you take revenge for us? 300 or so people from the Go family died at their hands. We must take revenge. If you agree, I'll serve you wholeheartedly. You can do whatever you want to me. Moreover, let me tell you, the beauty of this kingdom's queen is renowned in the surrounding kobold kingdoms. You can conquer her and make her act like a bitch under you. Go Lingling did not say anything, and thinking about her family that she had lost, her eyes became wet. Zhao Fu was not in a hurry to agree, and he asked if there were any other good things and how he could help them. Following this, Zhao Fu heard some good news. The Kobold Kingdom had a Kobold King's blood crystal, which had been left behind by the Kobold Kingdom's founding emperor. It contained great power. As for how to take revenge, the queen was the mastermind. Go Lan wanted Zhao Fu to turn her into a bitch and kill the people who had destroyed the Go family. Zhao Fu immediately agreed and told the merchant group to leave the Kobold Kingdom so that he would not cause trouble and would not be distracted here. Go Lan and Go Lingling were incredibly grateful to Zhao Fu, and this pair of beautiful master and servant happily served Zhao Fu. A few hours later, Zhao Fu easily snuck into the royal palace. The king of this kobold kingdom was a rather weak middle-aged kobold who had always been controlled by the queen and empress dowager. It was because of this that the queen had dared to openly destroy the Go family. The kobold king was incredibly furious and wanted to tear the queen to shreds. He did not like the queen at all. Go Lingling's mother was his true love. It was a pity that Go Lingling's mother had been killed by the queen, and now, the entire Go family, including the daughter he had only seen a few times, had died at the queen's hands. The middle-aged kobold king was incredibly furious and wanted to disregard everything and kill the queen. It was a pity that he did not have any power and was controlled by the Empress Dowager and Empress Dowager. He was just like a puppet. Suddenly. Chapter 1574. These words caused the Kobold King to feel quite startled. He looked around and found that an incredibly handsome young man had appeared at some point, looking straight at him. He gave off a supreme emperor's aura, as if he was a sovereign descending upon the world. Facing this aura, the Kobold King's face became pale and he instinctively knelt to the ground. No matter if it was his royal bloodline or his fate dragon, they all submitted in front of this person. The Kobold King felt incredibly shocked and thought to himself, just what kind of terrifying existence is this young man? Just his domineering emperor's aura is enough to make it so that I can't resist at all. Who are you? The Kobold King's voice trembled as he looked at the young man in front of him with a trace of fear. The Kobold King asked. Zhao Fu coldly harumphed, Who I am isn't important. Do you want to become a king who can reign above everyone else and not be restrained or bullied by anyone? Hearing this, the Kobold King thought back to what had happened in the past and felt furious, but his gaze was resolute as he replied, I do. A trace of a smile appeared on Zhao Fu's face as he slid his finger and forced out a drop of precious essence blood. He flicked his finger and sent the drop of essence blood into the Kobold King's forehead. The Kobold King's body trembled as he felt a powerful wave of Emperor's power enter his body, quickly changing his constitution and increasing his power. A powerful and dignified king's aura uncontrollably spread out. This caused the Kobold King to say gratefully to Zhao Fu, "Thank you, sir." Zhao Fu's expression was calm as he said, "Right now, it's just your body that has changed. Do you still want to control that supreme power? Just listen to me." The Kobold King thought about controlling supreme power and not being bullied by anyone, and he said excitedly, "Of course. Sir, if you have any orders, just tell me." Within the palace, there was a woman with a pair of golden dog ears and a golden dog tail. She had long, golden hair, a cold expression, and a mature figure. She gave off a formless king's might, making others not even dare to breathe loudly. She was the Kobold Kingdom's Empress Dowager, the true ruler of the Kobold Kingdom. She had taken over the king's position and was currently reading through memorials. At that moment, the Kobold King gave off a powerful and dignified king's aura as he walked in and loudly said, "All of you, back down." The maids and attendants in the hall all looked at the Empress Dowager. The Empress Dowager stopped what she was doing and coldly looked at her son. She felt quite surprised as she found that his body gave off a powerful and dignified king's aura. He was now a supreme king and was not as weak as before. After thinking for a moment, the Empress Dowager said in a cold voice, "All of you are dismissed." Hearing this, the crowd exited the hall and closed the doors. "What business do you have with me? Also, why do you have such a powerful aura of a king? This doesn't seem like something you can have," the Queen Dowager said coldly as she looked at the Kobold King. Seeing how cold she was, even though she was his mother, the Kobold man said impolitely, "Mother, this time I want to take back what belongs to me. I am the king of this country. You can leave now." The Empress Dowager's cold face had a hint of a disdainful smile. "I'll leave it to you. You want to manage an entire country with just your abilities? It's best that you go back and obediently stay here, or else don't blame your mother for being ruthless." The Kobold King loudly laughed as he said, "Mother, I'm not afraid of you at all." The Empress Dowager felt quite surprised but still gave a confident smile as she said, "Oh, this queen wants to see where your courage comes from to dare to speak like this in front of this queen." Gotcha. Just as the Empress Dowager spoke, the sound of bones breaking sounded out from beside her, causing her to feel quite startled and hurriedly look over. She saw a handsome-looking young man grabbing an elder by the neck. That elder's neck was crooked, and his throat had been snapped. The elder was the most powerful expert in the Kobold Kingdom and was responsible for protecting her, yet he had been killed so easily. The Empress Dowager immediately felt quite panicked and called out, "Who are you?" Zhao Fu looked at this beautiful and mature woman and casually threw away the corpse in his hand as he smiled and replied, "Your man from now on." The Kobold King lightly laughed as he said, "Sir, enjoy yourself and do her properly. Don't treat her like she's my mother. Right now, I want to see her being toyed with by you like a prostitute." Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "Don't worry. If you want to know how she became a prostitute, you can listen from outside." "All right then. Sir, I'll be going now." The Kobold King smiled as he walked out and closed the door. He stood at the door and prepared to listen to how Zhao Fu toyed with his cold mother. The Empress Dowager's expression was quite unsightly, but she did not run because she knew that it was impossible. She thought about it and decided that the only way to survive was to properly serve this person. Thinking about that, the Empress Dowager sat on the throne and took off her clothes as she coldly looked at Zhao Fu and said, "Come." Zhao Fu smiled as he pressed the Empress Dowager against the throne and started to savagely ravage this cold woman. He did not show any mercy and continuously trained her. The Kobold King outside heard his mother's lewd moans and begging that lord to do it with her like a bitch. She obediently called him master and even barked like a dog, continuing to receive that lord's favor. The Kobold King felt incredibly delighted and had finally vented all of his pent-up anger. His cold-blooded mother needed this lord to teach her a lesson. Not only did he not hate Zhao Fu, but he was also incredibly grateful to Zhao Fu. The door once again opened and Zhao Fu came out with the red-faced and flirtatious Empress Dowager. Zhao Fu gave her some face and did not tell her to crawl on the ground like a bitch. However, he had trained her to be as lewd as a bitch on the bed. Seeing Zhao Fu's results, the Kobold King smiled as he said, "Sir, you are indeed amazing. My mother was such a cold woman, yet you were able to train her into a bitch. Also, what should we do now?" Zhao Fu smiled as he replied, "We'll take power now. I'll give all of your mother's power to you, and you can arrange for your trusted subordinates to take control of these factions. You'll tightly grasp this power in your own hand." Following this, the Kobold King did as Zhao Fu said, and the entire Kobold Kingdom started to go through changes. Everyone felt a sense of crisis and understood that the royal power was about to go through a massive change. Chapter 1575. That bitch, she actually dared to rebel, the Kobold King angrily cursed. He wanted to make that bitch die a horrible death. Not only did he want to take revenge for being bullied by her, but he also wanted to take revenge for the woman he loved. Zhao Fu sat on the throne and enjoyed the service of the Empress Dowager, Go Qing as he said to the Kobold King outside, "Don't worry, with you controlling 70% of the kingdom's military, even if she rebelled, she would still lose. It's time for you to display your king's aura and lead the army to destroy the rebels, becoming a person that everyone in the kingdom respects." The Kobold King smiled and said excitedly, "Understood, sir." After the Kobold King left, Zhao Fu pressed Go Qing against the throne and started to ravage her before taking her to the battlefield. By now, the two armies gave off powerful auras as they faced off against each other. The Kobold King stood at the front of the massive army and gave off a powerful and confident king's aura as he shouted, "You rebels are destined to fail. If you surrender now, this king can spare your lives. Also, daughter, don't seek death like your mother." There was a valiant-looking and seductive woman with beige dog ears and a tail wearing armor. She was called Go Yen, and she was the daughter of the Kobold King and Queen. Go Yen herself had great talent and was quite outstanding in leading soldiers in battle. She held an important position in the army, and 1/3 of the rebels were under her command. There was also a woman wearing a silver-white dress with white ears and a tail beside her. She was peerlessly beautiful and had a graceful figure, and she gave off a noble aura. She was the queen, and she was called Go Xiaoxiao. She naturally trusted this daughter that she had raised, and she knew that she would not betray her. She loudly said, "Soldiers, this is a great opportunity." She said loudly, "Soldiers, you all know how useless he is. Do you really believe that the kingdom will be good under his rule? It's best if you submit to this queen. After this matter is over, you will be promoted." The Kobold King loudly laughed as he said, "Go Xiaoxiao. Do you think that this king is still the same as before? If I was still the same, how could this king seize power from my mother? Today will be the day you die. Kill." Boom. A powerful king armament exploded out from the Kobold King's body, causing the soldiers behind him to tremble. They understood that the king in front of them was no longer as useless as before, and they excitedly roared as they charged towards the enemy army. Go Yen also commanded the army to launch a counterattack. The two armies quickly started to fight, exploding out with an aura that shook the surroundings. A soldier roared as he chopped another soldier's head in half, causing blood to splatter everywhere. Another soldier held a spear and pierced another soldier's throat, while another soldier held a spear and pierced his enemy's chest. A soldier held a large saber and gave off a cold light as he chopped off a soldier's head. Another soldier held a sword and cut off a soldier's arm, while another soldier held a rod and sent a soldier flying. The battle was extremely intense. Both sides did their best to kill each other, and the sounds of weapons colliding continuously rang out. Blood splashed everywhere, and miserable cries rang out continuously. Countless people were dying. Seeing that the battle was ending too slowly, Zhao Fu hugged Empress Dowager Qing Shui and appeared in the sky. A few massive sword lights, bringing with them a ferocious sword chi storm, shot out. Countless soldiers were hit by the massive sword chi storm and gave off pained cries. Their bodies were slashed into countless pieces, and blood flew everywhere. In the blink of an eye, a large number of soldiers had died, and the ground was covered with corpses and blood. Seeing Zhao Fu's power, Go Qing Shui coquettishly laughed and said, "Master, I knew that your identity wasn't simple. This little slave knows that your identity is not simple. In the future, you can't treat your little slave badly. This little slave not only wants to get the master's favor every day, but also wants to become a person with power." Zhao Fu understood what she was thinking. As a domineering Empress Dowager, even if she became a slave, her ambitions would not disappear. He lightly laughed and said, "That'll depend on your performance." Empress Dowager Go Qing Shui said flirtatiously, "Master, the situation has completely collapsed. Now that the situation on the other side has completely collapsed, it's better to find a place and let the slave girl serve you." Zhao Fu looked over the battlefield and saw that nothing unexpected would happen, so he brought Empress Dowager Go Qing Shui back to the palace. The Kobold King's side had the absolute advantage, and if nothing unexpected happened, the Kobold King would definitely win. Now that Zhao Fu had killed many people, he had helped the Kobold King's side. The enemy already felt that they could not win, and now that they had a peerless expert helping them, they understood that if they continued, they would die. As such, they either ran or surrendered. The battle quickly concluded. Zhao Fu had already enjoyed being served by Empress Dowager Go Qing Shui once in the palace, and she lay weakly on the bed, her face red as she panted. At that moment, the Kobold King's voice sounded out from outside, "Sir, I have a few gifts for you. I have a few gifts for you." Hearing this, Zhao Fu smiled and let him in. The Kobold King led him in, and the guards behind him held up 4 women: Empress Go Xiaoxiao, Princess Go Yen, and Go Xiaoxiao's mother. She was a voluptuous woman with white dog ears and a tail, and she gave off a motherly aura. She was called Go Baiha, and the other was Go Xiaoxiao's sister-in-law. She had flaxen-colored long hair and a slim figure. She also had dog ears and a tail, and she was quite pretty. She was called Go Baishua. The Kobold King happily laughed as he said, "Now that the kingdom is unified, countless commoners worship me and submit to me. All of this was given to me by Sir, so please enjoy these bitches. Turn them into bitches, especially Go Xiaoxiao and her daughter. Don't worry about me. The more they suffer, the happier I'll be." "That's right. I've also brought Sir's Kobold King stone for you." The Kobold King took out a golden jade stone and said, "Sir has helped me so much, and I only want this item. You've even helped me train those bitches to take revenge for me, making me feel quite embarrassed. I'll order people to collect the Kobold Kingdom's beauties and treasures to give to Sir." Zhao Fu took the Kobold King stone and lightly laughed as he said, "There's no need for that. I still have things to do later, so I'll be leaving soon. I'll leave those treasures for you to develop and grow. If we're fated, we'll meet again. Next time, I want to see you conquer the world and become a powerful king." The Kobold King looked quite reluctant as he said, "Sir, you're leaving so soon? How about you stay for a few more days? I'll hold a banquet to welcome Sir." Zhao Fu felt that he had been staying in the Kobold Kingdom for too long, so he refused the Kobold King. The Kobold King looked quite disappointed, but thinking about Zhao Fu's words, he said resolutely, Sir, I'll definitely become the most powerful king here. I will definitely become the strongest king here. I won't let you down. Zhao Fu smiled and nodded before turning into a ray of light and disappearing over the horizon with his women. Chapter 1576. Zhao Fu brought the women to the meeting place with the merchant group. Seeing the women behind Zhao Fu, Go Lan and Go Lingling looked delighted and understood that Zhao Fu had helped them take revenge. Go Xiaoxiao and the women behind Zhao Fu did not know how Zhao Fu would treat them. However, looking at Go Lan and Go Lingling, Go Xiaoxiao's face became pale. She had never thought that this expert Zhao Fu was related to them. Perhaps it was because they had asked Zhao Fu to go to the Kobold Kingdom, which was why this had happened. Thank you, husband. The two women leapt into Zhao Fu's embrace and tightly hugged Zhao Fu as they smiled happily. Zhao Fu lightly smiled as he said, "Let's get on the carriage together. I've missed you all." The women's faces became red and their eyes became watery, and they gave off alluring auras. After Zhao Fu had left, they had all missed Zhao Fu. Go Xiaoxiao asked the Empress Dowager, Go Qingshui, in a small voice, "Mother, what should we do to survive?" Go Xiaoxiao asked Go Qingshui in a small voice, "Mother, what should we do to survive?" Go Qingshui regained her cold and noble aura and looked at Go Xiaoxiao as she said, "If you act like a good slave, he won't kill you. If you serve him well, you'll receive massive benefit. His identity is far more terrifying than you can imagine." Go Xiaoxiao did not want to do that. After all, she was the empress of a kingdom, so how could she be a slave? However, thinking about how the Empress Dowager, Go Qingshui, had become his slave and looked quite lewd, she did not mind being a slave in the future. I understand, mother." Go Xiaoxiao smiled in understanding and replied to Go Qingshui. Go Qingshui's cold face gave a trace of a smile as she said, "This consort wasn't wrong about you. Later, we'll do our best to serve him together. It's best if your mother, sister-in-law, and daughter act lewdly. He'll like it." Go Baihe, the mature woman and Go Xiaoxiao's mother, lightly nodded. Even if she did not think for herself, she had to think for her daughter and granddaughter. Go Xiaoxiao's sister-in-law, Go Baixue, had thought that she would be beheaded. In order to live and have a better life, she lightly nodded and did not feel sorry for her husband. It was because her husband's family that she had fallen. However, Go Yen said coldly, "I'd rather die than submit to him and become a slave." Go Xiaoxiao's expression froze. She knew that her daughter had a backbone, and she wanted to say something, but she didn't have the chance to say anything. She was also taken to the luxurious carriage. After Zhao Fu and the women, they had their way. A few hours later, the Empress Dowager, Go Qingshui, Go Xiaoxiao, and the other women's faces were flushed. They were naked and squatted on the carpet with their hands on the ground in front of them. They stuck out their tender tongues, just like a few female dogs. Family Yen and Fu had with Xiaoxiao had with Go. You Xiaoxiao's Go and Fu and Xiaoxiao Yen Xiao Go. Seeing Go Xiaoxiao and the other women become like this, Go Lan felt quite delighted. She had finally taken revenge, and she gave a beautiful smile. However, seeing how Zhao Fu was ravaging them, it seemed that he liked them a lot. This made Go Lan feel quite startled. If Zhao Fu liked them too much, they could torture them instead. As such, she immediately started to serve Zhao Fu. Go Lingling did the same. She could not let Go Lan, the person she cared about the most, endure all of this by herself. Afterwards, Zhao Fu looked at the women lying on the ground and smiled before starting to fuse with the Kobold King Stone. The King Stone gave off an intense golden light and gradually fused into Zhao Fu's chest, and a powerful bloodline energy spread out. This was a powerful Kobold King bloodline, and it was an early-stage bloodline. Ordinary people would not be able to withstand such a powerful Kobold King bloodline, but Zhao Fu had a divine bloodline, and he could easily suppress this bloodline and absorb it. The Kobold King bloodline hummed and did not dare to resist, and in the end, it was completely absorbed by Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu's body gave off a faint golden light, and he felt some pain on his back as a golden kobold totem appeared on Zhao Fu's back. After obtaining the Kobold King's Stone and obtaining a totem on his back, Zhao Fu smiled in satisfaction. He was one step closer to awakening the Outlander Emperor's star. Go Xiaoxiao, who had just recovered some strength, lightly leaned against Zhao Fu's body and said, "Master, just who are you? Not only did I feel so happy doing it with you, but I also feel that my bloodline's power is becoming purer. Also, Master's bloodline's aura is simply too powerful." Zhao Fu lightly laughed and said, "I can't tell you that yet. Also, act like a good slave." Go Xiaoxiao said enticingly, "I'll continue to serve Master." Zhao Fu lay on the women's bodies and enjoyed Go Xiaoxiao's service. At that moment, countless sounds sounded out, including the sound of running and cries of terror. They had just left the Kobold Kingdom and were now in another kingdom, and they did not know what had happened. After coming outside, they found many people running away, and the captain of the merchant group came up and reported, "Sir, the Orc Kingdom is attacking this kingdom. We've already broken through this kingdom's defensive lines, so we should leave this place as soon as possible." Zhao Fu thought about it and nodded. Right now, Zhao Fu just wanted to leisurely travel in the carriage and did not want to participate in pointless battles. The merchant group sped up and quickly advanced. However, they had never thought that they would run into an invading army. This time, the Orc Kingdom had 300,000 soldiers, and what would happen if a 1,000-person merchant group blocked an army of 300,000? The orcs were a ferocious race, and seeing this scene, they naturally did not hesitate to kill everyone and take their goods. They naturally did not place this merchant group in their eyes at all. The countless orcs gave off ferocious looks as they flooded over, giving off shocking sounds that shook the surroundings. The merchant group could not help but feel nervous because this was not just a few thousand or tens of thousands of soldiers, but 300,000. If it was them, they would not be able to resist at all, and they would only be able to die. However, they had the mysterious and terrifying Zhao Fu, and he was their only hope. Only he could save everyone. Zhao Fu did not disappoint them, and he waved his hand, causing powerful black rays of light to fly out and turn into soldiers wearing black armor. There were 50,000 of them in total. The aura that the 50,000 Stage 6 soldiers gave off was even more ferocious than the aura of 3 million soldiers, and it swept out like a heaven-toppling flood. The expressions of the countless charging orcs fell as their bodies froze. Chapter 1577. What happened next was a disaster for the orcs. The darkness soldiers obeyed Zhao Fu's orders and turned into rays of black light as they shot out. These rays of light were incredibly sharp, and as soon as they flashed by, orcs' bodies would be cut in half. Pained cries continuously sounded out as blood flew everywhere. Orcs fell one by one, and corpses covered the ground. The remaining orcs looked terrified as they ran. However, the 50,000 rays of light continuously darted back and forth, not giving any of them a chance to live. They were all killed, creating a gory scene. Everyone in the merchant group looked incredibly excited. This was the power of their lord. 300,000 soldiers were nothing, and they had all been killed. Within the carriage, Go Qianqian and Go Qingshui, who had just submitted to Zhao Fu, felt incredibly shocked. 300,000 orcs had been slaughtered so easily, their lord's power was simply too monstrous. After easily slaughtering 300,000 orcs, blood dyed the ground red. A baleful aura rushed into the heavens, covering the sky like a haze. Even those in the distance felt a chill, and they knew that something terrifying was happening here. The merchant group continued onwards. This kingdom was a pigman kingdom. They all had pig-like heads and humanoid bodies. They also had humanoid faces and pig ears and tails, but they were all quite fat. After hearing that the orcs had conquered their kingdom, The Pigman kingdom had fallen into terror and despair. Their kingdom was about to be destroyed, and many people hurriedly packed their things and tried to run. However, a piece of delightful news spread. The Pigman kingdom's army had been completely destroyed. What was going on? This great news had come too suddenly, and everyone had no time to react. The Pigman kingdom fell into celebration. However, the Orc army still had 200,000 soldiers attacking from the other side, and the Pigman kingdom was resisting with all of its strength because they still had a chance to win. After hearing about what had happened, the Pigman king, who was a chubby young man with white skin, led his ministers and generals and headed towards the merchant group. One was to repay them for saving the Pigman kingdom, and the other was to keep such a powerful person alive. With them around, would the Pigman kingdom be afraid of the Orcs? In fact, they could even use their power to destroy the Orc kingdom. Soon, the Pigman king came before the merchant group with his ministers and generals and bowed as he said respectfully, "Sir, I have come to visit you. I am the emperor of the Pigman kingdom, Zhu Shang. I wonder if Sir can meet me?" The reason why the pig-headed people were so polite was naturally because it was obvious that Zhao Fu's status was far above theirs. Zhao Fu came outside and looked at the Pigman king as he calmly said, "What is it? Hurry up and say it." The Pigman king smiled as he said, "Thank you, sir, for saving my life. This is a small gift, please accept it." The pig-headed people carried up dozens of chests and opened them, revealing countless treasure lights. They were all filled to the brim with gold, silver, and jewels, and anyone who saw this scene would not be able to help themselves from leaping over. However, Zhao Fu said calmly, "Do you think I'm interested in this?" This caused the Pigman king's smile to freeze. He thought about it and pointed at the beautiful pig-headed woman next to him as he smiled and said, "This is my empress. If Sir likes her, please go ahead and enjoy her." Zhao Fu looked at the woman. Even though she was quite beautiful, she had a pair of large pig ears and a fat body. Zhao Fu instantly lost interest and thought about it before saying, "If you really want to thank me, you can give me any powerful ancestral items or godly spirits. If I'm satisfied, I can agree to some of your requests." Hearing that Zhao Fu had already guessed their intentions and did not object, the Pigman king felt quite delighted. He took out a pig-headed skull and smiled as he said, "This is my ancestor's pig-headed skull, and can summon my ancestor's powerful remnant soul. My ancestor will give it to Sir." Zhao Fu examined the pig-headed skull and felt that it was quite powerful. He gave a pleased smile and nodded, expressing that it was quite good. The Pigman king felt quite happy and smiled as he said, "My kingdom also worships a pig-headed god. If Sir wants it, I can order people to bring it over." Hearing that there was a godly spirit, Zhao Fu gave a trace of a smile as he asked, "Is it a male godly spirit or a female godly spirit?" The Pigman king felt quite startled, and did not know why Zhao Fu was asking about a male godly spirit or a female godly spirit. He explained, "It's a powerful male godly spirit and is quite lustful. Every year, I choose a few beautiful Pigman women for him to enjoy." Hearing that it was a male godly spirit and that it was quite lustful, Zhao Fu lost interest and said, "I'll accept the pig-headed skull as payment for helping you kill 300,000 orcs. If there's nothing else, you can leave." The Pigman king's expression became quite unsightly. Only by relying on Zhao Fu could the Pigman kingdom have hope, so how could he let Zhao Fu leave? Thinking about how Zhao Fu wanted ancestral items and godly spirits, the Pigman king gave a sinister smile. "Sir, I know that the neighboring Orc kingdom has a powerful female Orc god and an ancestral body that can unleash massive power. If Sir is interested, you can go to the Orc kingdom to take it." Hearing this, a trace of a smile appeared on Zhao Fu's face because he needed these things. Even though he had helped the Pigman kingdom, Zhao Fu did not care too much about such a small matter. "Reporting to your majesty. Our army surrounded the other army and captured the other side's female general, and we've already captured her. a pigman soldier came up and reported. There were a few soldiers behind him pressing down on a female orc. This female orc wore leather armor and had an alluring figure. Her skin was slightly gray and she had pointy ears. She had 2 upward-pointing fangs and was quite beautiful. She gave off a ferocious aura and did not seem to be afraid of the pigmen around her. The pigman king thought to himself that a terrifying figure like Zhao Fu had become interested in the orc kingdom. The orc kingdom would most likely be in dire straits, so he coldly harumphed and said, "Skin her and nail her body to a wooden stake to show off our army's might." The female orc struggled as she said, "A bunch of trashy pigmen. If it wasn't for someone helping you, you pigmen would have long since been destroyed by the orc kingdom. The orc kingdom will come back sooner or later, and when that time comes, your pigman kingdom will be destroyed. I look forward to seeing your head under my majesty's feet." Chapter 1578. The female orc's expression was quite unsightly as she cursed, "You're a stupid pig, you pigman. If you dare, kill me now, or else you'll regret it." "I'm taking her." The pigman king looked furious and was just about to say something when he heard Zhao Fu's words. He immediately smiled and said, "Since Sir likes her, I'll give her to Sir." The female orc looked at Zhao Fu. She did not know that the other army of the orc kingdom had died at Zhao Fu's hands. A few guards brought the bound female orc to Zhao Fu's side. Zhao Fu looked at the female orc general before saying to the pigman king, "Don't worry, I'll be going to the orc kingdom soon." The pigman king smiled and felt much more at ease, and he led his subordinates away from this place. "Who are you?" the female orc asked as she looked at Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu smiled and did not reply. He waved his hand, sending out a cold light that cut off the ropes binding the female orc. The instant the ropes were untied, the female orc punched at Zhao Fu. From how she saw it, Zhao Fu and the pigman king were on the same side. There were so many people in the merchant group, and if she did not control Zhao Fu, she would not be able to escape. As such, she immediately attacked Zhao Fu. However, as she punched out, Zhao Fu easily grabbed her and pulled her into his embrace before carrying her to the carriage. The female orc struggled and cursed, "Bastard! Let go of me!" Zhao Fu ignored her and carried her into the carriage before starting to taste her. Soon, the female orc's lewd moans sounded out. The merchant group continued onwards, and their destination was the orc kingdom. The orc kingdom was right in front, and since they were going to pass by, they could deal with everything together. Within the carriage, the female orc lay limply in Zhao Fu's embrace. Her face was red as she panted, and she pleaded, "Can you not wantonly slaughter in the orc kingdom? I'll do anything you want me to do now." Now, the female orc knew that Zhao Fu had easily slaughtered 300,000 of her kingdom's soldiers, and was now attacking the orc kingdom with malicious intent. Zhao Fu hugged the orc woman's body and lightly laughed as he said, "If it's easy, I naturally won't kill too many people. However, if they resist, don't blame me. However, I'll spare your family." The female beastwoman heaved a sigh of relief. She felt that Zhao Fu wasn't the kind of person who liked to slaughter. There was still room for negotiation. She just had to see what would happen in the future. By now, the Orc Kingdom heard that the Pigman Kingdom's army had been defeated, and they felt quite confused. They felt that the Pigman Kingdom did not have such strength, and only after investigating did they understand what had happened. What made their expressions even more unsightly was that a merchant group was heading towards the Orc Kingdom. What should they do? That was what many ministers were thinking. Some ministers wanted to use the power of their kingdom to destroy this merchant group because 300,000 of the Orc Kingdom's soldiers had died at the hands of this merchant group. They had to take revenge for this. Some ministers felt that this merchant group's power was simply too terrifying and unfathomable. If they could easily slaughter 300,000 soldiers, how many soldiers would it take to destroy this merchant group? It was possible that the kingdom would be destroyed, So many people wanted to satisfy the merchant group's demands. As the two sides argued, the merchant group arrived near the Orc Kingdom's Great Wall, and they had to make a decision. Zhao Fu went outside and saw that the Great Wall's gates were tightly shut, and the orcs took out their weapons with serious expressions. Their bows were aimed at the merchant group, and he felt quite displeased. He immediately wanted to charge into the Orc Kingdom. The female orc woman, Shou Duo, hurriedly stopped Zhao Fu and said, "Sir, the people defending the Great Wall are people from my family. The people guarding the Great Wall are from my clan. Can you let me give it a try?" Zhao Fu still looked quite displeased and did not like wasting time like this. Seeing this, a trace of embarrassment appeared on Shou Duo's face as she said, "Sir, I'll serve you later. I'll serve you later. Don't be unhappy, okay?" Hearing this, Zhao Fu thought about how this ferocious-looking female general would serve him, and a trace of a smile appeared on his face. Shou Duo came to the bottom of the Great Wall and yelled, "Big bro! Open the Great Wall!" A valiant-looking orc appeared on the Great Wall and looked at Shou Duo in confusion before saying in delight, "Little sis Duo, you're still alive? I thought you were dead." Shou Duo smiled as she said, "Big bro, it was this sir who saved me. Hurry and let him in, or else he'll get angry." The valiant-looking orc, Shou Wu, looked quite troubled as he said, "Little sis, we know that it was this merchant group that destroyed 300,000 of our soldiers, so we can't let them in or else the Orc Kingdom will be in danger." Shou Duo looked at Zhao Fu and was worried that he would get angry, so she said anxiously, "Big bro, if you don't open the Great Wall, the Orc Kingdom will fall into danger." Shou Wu resolutely shook his head and refused, saying, "Little sis, you don't need to say any more. It's impossible for me to open the Great Wall." At that moment, a beautiful woman with a mature figure wearing armor and giving off the aura of a general walked out and smiled as she said to Zhao Fu, "Sir, don't be angry. Don't be angry, I'll let my son open the door." Seeing the beautiful woman, Shou Duo happily called out, "Mother." The beautiful woman flew down from the Great Wall and looked at her daughter's mature aura. She understood something and gave a profound smile as she said, "Daughter, come here for a moment. I have something to ask you." Shou Duo understood that her mother knew that her virginity had been taken. A trace of embarrassment appeared on her face, but she did not feel too embarrassed and boldly admitted to this matter. She walked in front of her mother and asked, "What is it, mother?" The beautiful orc woman was called Shou Nan, and she asked with a serious expression, "Is that sir really that powerful?" Shou Duo nodded seriously and said, "He's more powerful than I expected, and he has 50,000 stage 6 soldiers." A trace of a smile appeared on Shou Nan's face as she looked at Zhao Fu with her beautiful eyes and said respectfully, "Sir, can you talk to me for a bit? I have something important to discuss with you, and I hope that sir can agree." Zhao Fu felt quite startled and did not know why this beautiful woman was looking for him, but he nodded and agreed. Following this, the two of them walked into a small forest near the Great Wall. Shou Duo and Shou Wu looked at the merchant group and wondered what Shou Nan wanted for her to be so secretive and not even tell the people closest to her. Everyone waited for 2 hours, but the two of them did not come out. Chapter 1579. Hearing this, Zhao Fu thought about it and smiled as he agreed. Following this, the two of them put on their clothes and walked out of the forest. Shou Nan's face was quite red, and she had a big smile on her face. Most people understood what had happened. Shou Duo's face became slightly red, and thinking about how she would serve Zhao Fu with her mother in the future, she felt quite impressed. As expected of her mother, she had been able to endure Zhao Fu for 2 hours. A trace of anger appeared on Shou Wu's face. No matter who saw his mother doing it with another man, he would not be happy. Shou Nan ignored everyone's gazes and yelled, "Immediately gather the army and notify all of the factions related to my family to attack the Orc Kingdom's royal capital today. This was what Shou Nan had asked Zhao Fu to do: help her family take the throne and make her son the king of the Orc Kingdom. Now that the Orc Kingdom's army had suffered a great defeat, Shou Nan was a general in the imperial court and had a large army. With Zhao Fu's overwhelming power, they would definitely be able to succeed in their rebellion. Hearing Shou Nan's order, countless people's expressions fell and looked at her in shock. They understood that she wanted to rebel, but as her soldiers, they immediately obeyed. Shou Wu looked quite confused. He had never thought that his mother would do such a thing. He wanted to go up and try to persuade her, but Shou Nan calmly cut him off, saying, "There's no need to say anything. This is all for you and the family." Shou Duo happily smiled as she said, "Big bro, don't worry. With Our Lady here, you will become the Orc Kingdom's new king, and our family will become the Orc Kingdom's royal family." Seeing that no one objected, Shou Wu knew that it was useless for him to say anything now. He could only agree helplessly. They were going to attack the royal capital. The countless factions related to Shou Nan's family had already bound their interests to the Shou Nan family. If they succeeded, they would be rich and powerful, but if they failed, they would die pitifully. As such, all of them acted quite valiantly. The Orc Kingdom had been discussing how to deal with the merchant group, but they had never expected that someone would rebel at such a critical moment. They were not prepared at all, and cities were quickly taken down as reports came in from all directions. Countless Orc ministers' faces paled, and the Orc King immediately gave the order to gather all of his forces to defend. Zhao Fu stood in the air and looked at the 100,000 soldiers that had gathered. He waved his hand, and 50,000 stage 6 soldiers gave off massive auras as they appeared in the air, seeming to lock down space. The hundreds of thousands of orcs looked terrified as they looked up at the stage 6 soldiers in the sky. Following this, they started to fight. In less than a few hours, the ground was covered with corpses, and blood dyed the ground red. The surroundings fell into a deathly silence. Over 100,000 beastmen had been completely annihilated, and not a single person had survived. Every single beastman had died a miserable death. Zhao Fu easily annihilated the last of the Orc King city's resistance, and the other armies were also unobstructed. They slaughtered their way to the Orc King city, completely surrounding it. Everyone looked quite delighted because they were only one step away from obtaining the throne and establishing a new Orc Kingdom. The Orc Kingdom's king was a coarse-looking orc, and he said furiously, "Shou Nan, I've always treated your family well, yet you dared to rebel. You deserve to die 10,000 times for your crimes." Shou Nan's expression was cold as she stood at the front of the army and gave off a powerful general's aura as she said, "Stop pretending. I knew you wanted to destroy my family, so don't try to quibble. I know how my husband died, and now is the time for you to die. All armies, heed my orders, attack." The countless soldiers obeyed and gave off a massive aura as they charged towards the king's city. The Orc King's expression was quite unsightly as he gave the order to resist for the last time. Boom! A powerful aura exploded out as the sky gave off boundless gray light. A massive might spread out from the sky, and sensing this power, countless people's hairs stood on end, and they could not help but feel terror. She had a fiery figure and slender muscles, and she looked quite fit. Her skin was slightly gray, and she had 2 upturned fangs in her mouth. Her black hair was tied up in a braid, and she was peerlessly beautiful and gave off a primal wildness. She was the Orc Kingdom's guardian beast god, and at this moment of danger, she exploded out with her full power, wanting to help the Orc Kingdom. Clang, clang, clang. Just as the Orc god spirit appeared, the sound of chains sounded throughout the sky. Countless chains containing immense power shot out from the air and bound up the Orc god spirit. The Orc god spirit's expression fell, and she vigorously struggled, but she found that she could not break free at all. A trace of a smile appeared on Zhao Fu's face as he stretched out his hand and pulling the godly spirit in front of him and hugging her. The Orc god spirit had been captured so easily, and the people within the Orc King's city lost their last trace of hope. Countless people looked incredibly hopeless, and they were unable to defend against the incoming army. The outcome of the battle was not too surprising, and it concluded very quickly. The Orc King's head was chopped off by Shonan, and she gave a proud smile as she stepped on the Orc King's head and declared victory. Zhao Fu hugged the Orc God Spirit and came to the Orc Kingdom's palace. There were already 3 Orc women who had been brought to Zhao Fu. One was a beautiful Orc woman with graceful clothes and a trace of flirtatiousness, and she was the Empress Shou Mei. One was a concubine who had a slim figure and gave off a weak aura, and she was called Shou Sui. One had a mature figure and looked bold and cheerful, and she was called Shou He. They were the 3 most beautiful women in the Orc Kingdom, and Shou Nan had specially prepared them for Zhao Fu. After capturing them, she would send them to Zhao Fu for Zhao Fu to enjoy. In order to save herself and her family, the Empress Shou Mei flirtatiously leapt into Zhao Fu's embrace and said, "Sir, let me serve you." Because of this, the other 2 women also leapt into Zhao Fu's embrace and flirtatiously looked at Zhao Fu as they said, "Sir, we'll do it as well." Zhao Fu lightly laughed and enjoyed being served by the women below him. He then started to do it with them and have a good taste of them. A few hours later, Shou Nan and her daughter, Shou Duo, had taken care of everything and joined in. Zhao Fu had obtained the 2 things he wanted. The Orc God Spirit was below him, and it was the body of the Orc Kingdom's ancestor. It was a powerful Orc corpse, and it had once been a king of the Orc Kingdom. Chapter 1580. After Zhao Fu ascended to the Orc King's throne, Zhao Fu had wanted to take his people and leave. However, he thought about how he had not fused the 2 things he had obtained yet, so he decided to stay here for a while. First was the boar's skull, which required sacrifices. He did not need too many people, just 1,000 or so, to summon the remnant spirit of the pigman's ancestor. Now that the Orc Kingdom had just been established, there were too many people to kill. As such, it was quite easy for Zhao Fu to gather enough people, and Zhao Fu started to summon. On a stage, the 1,000 or so people had already been tied up. Zhao Fu stood at the center and raised the boar's skull and sent his power into it. The boar's skull gave off light and floated into the sky before exploding out with a formless, destructive power. This destructive power was like countless blades that mercilessly slashed towards the people making sacrifices. Arg! Countless people cried out as the people on the stage were chopped into countless pieces by that power, and their blood and corpses dyed the ground red. The boar's skull once again exploded out with a suction force, causing the corpses and blood to be sucked into the sky. Countless traces of blood and flesh covered the boar's skull and continuously changed before condensing into a 10 or so meter tall pigman. This pigman was blood red and had an ugly and ferocious look. Its body was quite swollen and was covered with fat, and it gave off a powerful aura and looked quite terrifying. Boom! However, Zhao Fu did not mind and grabbed out with his hand. A saint mark appeared on his palm, and a massive suction force exploded out towards the pig-headed person. The pigman was sucked in by that suction force, and it furiously roared and continuously struggled. However, with its strength, how could it resist Zhao Fu's power? In the end, it was sucked into Zhao Fu's body. Zhao Fu closed his eyes as he sat on the ground and started to refine the pigman within his body. The pigman within his body was still struggling, and Zhao Fu used his divine bloodline to turn into countless flames and ignite the pigman. As Zhao Fu howled in pain, the pigman was burned into ashes, leaving behind an orb of blood-red energy. Zhao Fu easily absorbed this energy, and he once again felt a pain on his back as a blood-red pigman totem appeared. After refining the pigman, Zhao Fu took out the orc ancestor's corpse and started to refine it. Countless traces of black aura covered the corpse. The black mist kept eroding the beastman ancestor's corpse, absorbing its essence and pouring it into Zhao Fu's body. Zhao Fu wholeheartedly absorbed this powerful orc ancestor's power and fused it into every part of his body, causing it to completely fuse with his body. He once again felt a pain on his back as a gray orc totem appeared on his back. Now Zhao Fu had a jackal totem, a minotaur totem, a wolfman totem, a lizardman totem, a kobold totem, a pigman totem, and an orc totem, 7 totems in total. If it wasn't for the fact that Zhao Fu's constitution and power were quite special, ordinary people wouldn't be able to obtain so many totems. After all, the totems' powers would clash with each other, and it was possible that their bodies wouldn't be able to withstand the power and would self-destruct. After obtaining 2 totems this time, Zhao Fu smiled. Since the matter of refining the ancestors' items had been resolved, there was no need for Zhao Fu to continue staying here. He led the merchant group out of the Orc Kingdom and continued onwards. Soon, they passed by a danger zone, and after hearing that it was quite dangerous, Zhao Fu became quite interested. After all, danger zones often had massive treasures. Zhao Fu had the merchant group wait here, and everyone knew how powerful Zhao Fu was, so they didn't say anything. This forbidden area was filled with lush green thistles and thorns. Some of the vines were covered with thorns, and they were over 1,000 meters tall. The surroundings were completely silent, and there was a deathly stillness to it. If one were to face it directly, it would be very dangerous. Just as Zhao Fu stepped into this danger zone, he found that there was a formless restriction that cut off his connection with his nation armament. It was evident that he couldn't use his nation armament here. However, a small outer region danger zone definitely wouldn't be very dangerous, and Zhao Fu felt quite condescending. He felt that with his power, he would be able to deal with it. He wasn't interested in exploring the outer regions, and Zhao Fu tapped off the ground and turned into a ray of light as he flew towards the depths of the danger zone. Boom! At that moment, a massive green arm suddenly stretched out, giving off immense power as it slapped Zhao Fu to the ground. Zhao Fu's body heavily crashed into the ground, smashing open a large crater. Zhao Fu was not injured, and he unleashed a defensive barrier. However, he looked quite confused, and he understood what had happened to that arm. Zhao Fu felt that it was best to be more obedient and slowly enter from the outer regions. That arm seemed to be quite powerful. However, just as Zhao Fu got close, the countless thorns seemed to come to life and gave off shocking auras as they flooded towards Zhao Fu. If the dense thistles and thorns were all alive, then it was no wonder that there were no living creatures here. No living creatures could survive here. Facing these incoming thorns, Zhao Fu's expression did not change. He held the sadistic killing sword and unleashed a defensive barrier as he quickly advanced. He slashed out with his sword, sending out sword lights that cut apart the countless incoming thorns. These were all ordinary thorns, so they were quite easy to deal with. Zhao Fu casually swung his sword, sending out a sharp sword light that cut apart the thorns. The countless thorns were green, and once they were cut apart, they quickly withered and died, and green blood flowed out. Bang! Suddenly, the countless thorns attacking Zhao Fu parted as a 1,000-meter-long spear formed from countless thorns shot out with terrifying power. It was incredibly fast and looked like a green blur as it flashed past. Zhao Fu was unable to react in time, and by the time he blocked with his sword, the massive thorn's spear smashed into Zhao Fu's body with terrifying power. The Saint Realm domain shattered and Zhao Fu was blasted back dozens of meters before stopping. A trace of blood leaked out of his lips. He had only suffered a light injury, but it was not very serious. By now, Zhao Fu felt quite angry. These small ordinary thorns could actually injure him. He could not afford to be careless, and Zhao Fu did not hesitate to put away the sadistic killing sword and took out the Emperor killing sword. Sword Master. Chapter 1581. Zhao Fu did not want to say anything more. With a trace of anger in his heart, he swung the sword in his hand. Clang! A clear sword hum tore through the air as a massive white sword light flew out, bringing with it a power that seemed to be able to cut through anything. In that instant, all of the thorny vines in the surrounding 10 kilometers were slashed apart. Countless broken thorny vines rained down from the sky, causing green liquid to fly everywhere. The dense patch of thorns was cleared in an instant, making it look very spacious. Swish, 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 the countless brambles seemed to be furious and formed massive bramble spears that gave off ferocious power as they shot towards Zhao Fu, giving off massive sounds. Zhao Fu was expressionless as he swung his sword again and again. Extremely sharp sword lights slashed out, cutting the thorny spears that countless people shot at him into pieces. Facing the sword lights, there was no obstruction at all. It was as if the sword was swinging in the air a few times. As the sword master form of the Emperor Killing Sword, it was an incredibly sharp sword. Because of Zhao Fu's cultivation, he could not unleash its true power. The countless brambles were now truly afraid. They had shot out so many bramble spears, but they couldn't harm Zhao Fu at all. The brambles that were shot out broke into pieces and covered the ground. Zhao Fu held the sword in his hand and continued forward. The thorns no longer dared to attack. Boom! At that moment, a powerful aura exploded out and a terrifying might spread out, causing the weather to change. The ground continuously trembled and cracked as countless traces of green light rose up from the cracks. This was world realm power. The ground continuously shook and gave off a loud sound as a huge treant climbed out of the ground. This treant's head was like that of a tree, and it had a canopy and branches. Below its head was a humanoid body with powerful muscles. Its body was green and covered with spikes, and its aura was very powerful. That world realm power just then had been released by it. Zhao Fu's expression slightly fell. Right now, he only had heaven realm strength, and without his nation armament, he would not be able to defeat this treant. The treant was 1,000 meters tall, and as soon as it appeared, it attacked. It raised a hand, bringing with it a terrifying gale as it swatted towards Zhao Fu. It was incredibly fast, and the hand that it stretched out for the first time seemed to be the treant's hand. Bang! Zhao Fu unleashed his divine domain's power and unleashed a massive barrier. However, he was still slapped into the ground, creating a large crater. Countless rocks flew everywhere, and a trace of blood leaked out of Zhao Fu's lip. At present, Zhao Fu's strength was only at the sky-human realm. There was a gap of 3 realms between him and the treant: the Harmony realm, the Great Earth realm, and the World realm. Normally, the difference in strength of one realm was many times greater. However, this treant was 3 realms higher, and even though Zhao Fu was not weak, he was still at a disadvantage. If he could use his nation armament, he would be able to instantly kill a world realm expert like this. However, this also revealed a weakness, which was that he relied too much on his nation armament's power. Without his nation armament's power, he would not be able to resist at all. It seemed that he would have to increase his own cultivation. This was because the heaven-awakened world was becoming weaker by the day. If the nation armament's power also disappeared, what would Zhao Fu do? Seeing Zhao Fu being slapped into the ground, the treant looked quite condescending. It raised its foot and stomped towards Zhao Fu as if it was stomping an ant to death. The foot gave off immense power and a massive aura of suppression as it stomped down. Zhao Fu exploded out with all of his power, and a black aura flame erupted around his body, sending out wild gales as a divine might that reigned above all things spread out. Shing! As the massive foot stomped down, a massive sword hum sounded out as a black sword light containing destructive power slashed out, causing a black sword chi storm to explode out. Roar! The treant roared in pain as a massive gash appeared on its foot, from which blood spurted out. The treant raised its foot and retreated before crashing to the ground, causing the ground to tremble. Zhao Fu gave off a powerful black aura flame as he turned into a black ray of light and continued to attack the treant. However, as a world realm expert, the treant was incredibly powerful. The countless leaves on the treant's head gave off a faint light before shooting out like countless green blades. Each leaf contained incredibly sharp power and could easily cut through steel. Zhao Fu felt quite startled and unleashed a defensive barrier. The countless green leaves gave off ferocious power as they slashed against Zhao Fu's defensive barrier, resulting in massive clanging sounds. Bang! At that moment, the treant suddenly attacked. It stretched out its hand and vigorously slammed towards Zhao Fu, sending Zhao Fu flying back. The treant once again stood up, and the wound on its foot quickly healed. The treant had powerful healing abilities, and the first thing it did after standing up was attack Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu had been sent flying hundreds of meters before stopping. At that moment, the treant vigorously punched out, causing a massive explosion to sound out as a terrifying green beam of light shot out, shaking the space around it. Bang! Zhao Fu was hit by the green beam of light, and his body was once again sent flying. He crashed into a mountain extremely quickly, causing the mountain to shatter into pieces. Rocks flew everywhere, and Zhao Fu coughed up a mouthful of blood. The treant savagely grinned as it raised its fist and rushed over, stomping on the ground, leaving behind large craters. Zhao Fu felt as if all of his bones were going to break, and he looked at the treant, feeling quite furious. At that moment, he exploded out with his divine bloodline's power, the Six Paths Demon Image's power, the Demon Lord's power, the Dragon Emperor's power, the Evil Spirit Abyss Flower's power, the Devil's power, and the Celestial Emperor's power. Boom! Zhao Fu raised his sword and a rainbow-colored light containing different auras and terrifying power rushed into the sky, giving off a massive sound that shook the surroundings. Clouds swirled as countless traces of heaven and earth power madly gathered, and an incredibly terrifying power slowly appeared in the sky. A sword formation giving off all sorts of lights appeared in the sky, and a world-destroying sword intent spread out like lightning, covering the entire world. Space started to collapse, and all creatures fell into despair. The treant, who had raised its fist and savagely laughed, instinctively felt a wave of terror, and its expression became unsightly as it stopped. Zhao Fu coldly looked at the treant and heavily slashed down with his sword. Chapter 1582. Seeing the countless sword lights tear through the sky and descend towards it, the treant's expression became unsightly, and it exploded out with all of its power. Its body gave off intense green light as it roared and stretched out its hands, causing a massive energy barrier to appear. Bang! 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 Rays of sword light containing destructive power ferociously slammed against the energy barrier, causing it to violently tremble. It could defend against tens of rays of sword light, but facing thousands of rays of sword light, the green energy barrier was unable to defend at all. Bang! A massive sound rang out as the green energy barrier was blasted apart by the countless sword lights, turning into countless shards. Following this, the sword lights continued to slash against the treant's body, easily cutting apart its body. Roar! 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 The treant roared in pain and quickly gathered all of its power to block in front of it, once again forming a barrier of light. However, it was still easily destroyed by the sword lights. In the end, the heavenly punishment sword formation stopped. The treant's body was covered with wounds and was covered with blood. Its aura was quite weak, and it looked quite wretched. However, as a world realm expert, it still had great power. Because Zhao Fu's cultivation was too low, the heavenly punishment sword formation was only able to heavily injure it and not directly kill it. Zhao Fu held the emperor-killing sword and gave off terrifying power as he once again rushed at the treant. The treant looked furious and raised its fist as it once again punched towards Zhao Fu, bringing with it a terrifying fist energy that caused the air to explode. Facing the massive fist, Zhao Fu slashed out with the emperor-killing sword, sending out a ferocious sword light that collided with the massive fist. Bang! The sword light was shattered by the fist, turning into a sword wind and dissipating. However, a deep gash was left on the fist, causing blood to flow out, and the treant once again howled. Zhao Fu grasped this opportunity and sent large amounts of power into the emperor-killing sword, causing it to give off boundless sword light and a cold aura to spread out. Shing! Zhao Fu once again slashed out, giving off an enormous sword light and sharp power as it slammed into the treant's chest, forcing it back a few steps. A gash appeared on its chest, from which blood flowed out. The treant screamed in pain and raised its fist to hit Zhao Fu like a madman. However, Zhao Fu calmly dodged downwards, dodging this powerful punch. He once again rushed forwards, arriving at the treant's abdomen, and his sword gave off an incredibly sharp sword light as he slashed towards the treant's abdomen. This strike almost tore open the treant's stomach, and it once again howled as it was heavily injured, making it unable to retaliate. In the next few strikes, Zhao Fu slashed at the treant's body. Finally, his sword pierced through the treant's heart, ending its life. Zhao Fu was covered in green blood. At that moment, Zhao Fu's bloodline felt quite excited. After fusing with the spirit blood in the historical remnant, Zhao Fu's blood had gained spirituality. Now, the spirit blood could sense the treant's body, and it also had a powerful spirituality. It wanted Zhao Fu to devour the treant's body, and Zhao Fu did not hesitate to do so because it would definitely be very beneficial to him. Zhao Fu directly drilled into the treant's heart through the gash and started to devour it. Countless traces of black mist containing divine power flowed out of the treant's chest and covered its entire body. The black mist continuously corroded the treant's body, causing it to start melting. First, it was its skin and flesh, then its bones, and they all turned into a green liquid. The treant's hands and feet first disappeared, followed by its head, and finally its chest. It turned into a massive ball of liquid and entered Zhao Fu's body. This time, Zhao Fu was incredibly careful and meticulous. He did not leave behind a single part of the treant, ensuring that he could refine it to the fullest and that its body was intact. Now that Zhao Fu had fused with the green liquid, his body gave off a green light. Zhao Fu felt quite comfortable, and he felt a powerful wave of life force flowing into every part of his body, making it seem as if his body was going through changes. This process lasted for an hour or so, and Zhao Fu had fused with the green liquid. The green liquid fused with every part of Zhao Fu's body, causing Zhao Fu to obtain something quite good. It was the spirit tree constitution, which meant that it had spirituality like a spirit tree and a powerful life force like a tree, as well as the abilities of a tree. Now, Zhao Fu could turn into a treant or a large tree, growing roots that dug into the ground and absorbed nutrients from the earth. He could also grow branches and leaves and absorb sunlight. Zhao Fu felt that this ability was quite interesting, but he did not know how to use it. He felt that it would only be useful at certain times. Zhao Fu got up from the ground and put on a new set of clothes. The clothes from before were covered with blood and could no longer be worn. Following this, Zhao Fu continued onwards because this was only the outer region of the danger zone. Zhao Fu had not gone to the depths of the danger zone yet, and after this lesson, Zhao Fu had to be more careful. Without his nation armament, he was just a small heaven realm cultivator. Of course, Zhao Fu planned to go up and take a look, which was where the treant had appeared. He did not want to miss any treasures there. A while later, Zhao Fu arrived at that place and found that even though it was covered with brambles, there were pinkish-white flowers growing out of each bramble. They looked like peach blossoms and looked quite beautiful. There was also a spring at the center of the flowers. It was only a few meters wide and gave off clear spring water that gave off a faint fragrance. Zhao Fu went up to take a look and found that this spring was an extremely rare spring called the 10,000 Flower Beauty Spring. Its main effect was to make one more beautiful. Even an extremely ugly woman would become incredibly beautiful after entering the 10,000 flower beauty spring. In actuality, the water of life could also increase one's beauty and life force. However, even though the 10,000 flower beauty spring did not increase one's life force, it could increase one's beauty by dozens of times, and it was even slightly effective on higher beings. Just this alone was enough to make it a priceless treasure, and it was something that countless female higher beings wanted. Moreover, if this 10,000 flower beauty spring was placed in a place with countless flowers, the spring would absorb the flower's energy, making it 5 or 6 times more effective than before. A trace of a smile appeared on Zhao Fu's face, and he felt that this would be quite useful. As such, he started to explore the vicinity of the spring. Whoosh! Chapter 1583. Zhao Fu sent his power into the spring pearl, and the spring pearl gave off a formless suction force that sucked all of the spring water in the pool into it. After absorbing all of the spring water, the light that the spring pearl gave off became more and more enchanting. Zhao Fu gave a satisfied smile and put the spring pearl away before continuing to walk towards the center of the danger zone. In the heart of the danger zone, there were no patches of sinister and terrifying thorns. The grass was covered in a lush green carpet, and there were some unknown wild flowers growing there. There was a small patch of dense forest next to it, and a small stream was flowing. The sky was very blue, and there were a few pieces of white cotton-like clouds. Zhao Fu looked at the beautiful scenery in front of him, and it did not seem to be dangerous at all. He felt quite curious. Logically speaking, the center of the danger zone should be the most dangerous place. Even though it was quite peaceful, Zhao Fu still started to carefully scout around. After walking for a while, Zhao Fu found a familiar person ahead. That person wore blood-red clothes and had a graceful figure. She had long, blood-red hair and was peerlessly beautiful, even more beautiful than a celestial maiden. She was Tuoba Qing, who had disappeared a long time ago. She was the one who had given Zhao Fu his origin mark, and she was the first woman that Zhao Fu had ever touched. Zhao Fu had never thought that he would meet her here, and he smiled as he went up and called out, "Little Qing." Tuoba Qing slowly turned her head and leapt into Zhao Fu's embrace as she gave a beautiful smile and said softly, "Husband, why have you come here?" Zhao Fu smiled and told her about what had just happened, as well as why he had come to the Outlander domain. Tuoba Qing understood and lightly smiled as she said, "Husband, you're so powerful. I really didn't misjudge you. Perhaps your power will surpass mine, and you might even break through the origin race's shackles." Zhao Fu lightly laughed as he said, "If it wasn't for the origin mark you gave me, I might not have had such accomplishments." "That's right, where have you been these past few years? Why would he appear here?" Tuoba Qing pulled Zhao Fu and sat under a large tree. Zhao Fu leaned against the tree while Tuoba Qing leaned against Zhao Fu's shoulder. Sunlight passed through the gaps between the branches and leaves, causing specks of gold to fall. A light breeze blew, and Tuoba Qing started to talk about her experiences over the past few years. Zhao Fu listened to her quietly. Unknowingly, Zhao Fu suddenly felt sleepy. This sleepiness was the kind that was getting stronger and stronger. Zhao Fu's head was a little dizzy. His eyelids felt as if they were filled with heavy lead, and he could barely open them. Within Zhao Fu's embrace, Tuoba Qing's expression also changed. She was no longer as gentle and beautiful as before, but rather incredibly savage, and fangs grew out of her mouth. Tuoba Qing became quite ugly and ferocious, and she opened her mouth, preparing to bite at Zhao Fu's throat. Boom! In that moment of danger, Zhao Fu exploded out with a massive black aura flame, and a terrifying power spread out, sending Tuoba Qing flying. At the same time, the sleepiness in Zhao Fu's head disappeared, and Zhao Fu came back to his senses. He coldly looked at Tuoba Qing and asked, "Who are you?" Tuoba was sent flying back 10 or so meters, but she was not injured, and she flirtatiously said, "Husband, I'm your wife. I'm your wife. Why don't you recognize me? Haven't you missed me for so long? Let me properly serve you later." Zhao Fu's expression was cold, and he was still sure that the Tuoba in front of him was not Tuoba. He did not know what kind of monster this was, so he drew his sword and prepared to kill this monster pretending to be Tuoba. Seeing Zhao Fu draw his sword, the monster's expression became cold as she said weakly, "Husband, are you really going to kill me? Are you really going to kill me? Are you really that heartless?" Zhao Fu said in disgust, "Stop pretending, you're so disgusting." Hearing this, the monster's expression changed, and it savagely laughed as it said in a man's voice, "Boy, I wanted to let you die comfortably, but you're seeking your own death. I originally wanted to let you die comfortably, but now you've brought about your own death. I'm going to cut you into pieces and savor you." By now, not only did the monster grow fangs, but it also grew a 30-centimeter long rhombus-shaped tongue. However, it still looked like Tuoba, but it was incredibly ugly. It was quite terrifying. It vigorously waved its hand, causing countless gusts of wind to gather and form a massive wind blade that gave off terrifying power as it flew towards Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu wanted to dodge, but the grass beneath his feet seemed to come to life and quickly grew before tightly wrapping around Zhao Fu's feet, making it impossible for Zhao Fu to dodge. Facing the incoming wind blade, Zhao Fu could only vigorously slash out. A massive black crescent collided with the incoming wind blade, causing it to explode and turn into a berserk gale. The monster grabbed at the air, and a spear appeared in its hand. It held the spear and made a charging motion before stepping off the ground and turning into a black blur like a bolt of lightning, appearing in front of Zhao Fu in an instant. The spear in its hand gave off immense power as it stabbed out. Zhao Fu sent power into his feet, causing them to condense into 2 orbs of black flames. He then vigorously twisted, breaking free from the grass binding him, and he leaned to the side, dodging the ferocious spear. The monster savagely laughed, and the ground beneath Zhao Fu's feet suddenly became a large mouth. Zhao Fu's body started to fall, and the large mouth bit down, wanting to bite Zhao Fu in half. Bang! A muffled explosion sounded out as the large mouth bit down on the black energy barrier. In that moment of desperation, Zhao Fu released his divine realm domain to block that terrifying bite. The monster gripped its spear and savagely laughed as it once again vigorously stabbed towards Zhao Fu, bringing with it a terrifying spear energy that seemed to be able to pierce through boulders. In that moment of crisis, Zhao Fu's golden pupil quickly spun, and chains containing immense power shot towards the monster. Each chain was enough to pierce through the monster's body. This caused the monster to stop its attack. It leaped back and retreated more than 10 meters, dodging the attacks of the countless chains. Zhao Fu first used the black energy barrier to block the monster's mouth before flying out and slashing towards the monster. The monster did not feel any fear and savagely laughed as it vigorously stabbed out with its spear. Shing! The spear and sword collided with immense power, resulting in a metallic collision sound and sparks flying everywhere. The collision of the 2 powers turned into a wild gale. Zhao Fu's expression became savage as a massive wave of power exploded out, and he vigorously slashed out with his sword, sending the monster flying. The monster looked quite furious as its spear gave off a large amount of light, and it seemed to come to life as it turned into a snake. The monster grabbed the snake and threw it out with all its might. Bang! Chapter 1584. Zhao Fu dodged to the side, easily dodging the spear. However, what he didn't expect was that the spear could turn and continue to shoot towards Zhao Fu's back with ferocious force. Immediately, Zhao Fu was given a big fright and his hairs stood on end. He was unable to dodge, and the 6 gray dots in his right eye spun as a massive wave of ghostly chi flowed out from behind Zhao Fu, and a powerful monster appeared behind him. The monster loudly roared and punched out with immense power, bringing with it a sharp wind. Pooh! However, the snake's power was incredibly terrifying, and it flashed past and pierced through the ghost's body. The ghost died, but Zhao Fu was able to dodge this attack. At that moment, the monster stretched out its hands, each of which gave off a powerful aura, and it ferociously pressed them against the ground. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as the grass in the surrounding 10,000 meters stood on end, giving off cold light as they shot out like thousands of green darts, giving off shocking sounds as they shot towards Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu was greatly startled, and in that moment, he half squatted down and sent large amounts of power into his sword as he stabbed it into the ground. Clang, 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 6 sounds of chains could be heard as a massive amount of ghostly chi flowed out, and 6 10-meter-tall 6 paths demon images appeared around Zhao Fu. They each stretched out a hand and a gray light shot out, forming a 6 paths of reincarnation barrier. Bang! Bang! The green leaves gave off sharp power as they slammed into the defensive barrier, resulting in massive sounds before shattering into countless fragments. The sounds they gave off were quite shocking. Zhao Fu blocked the countless green leaves and drew his sword before slashing at the monster. Roar! 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 6 massive roars sounded out from the 6 paths demon images as they savagely looked at the monster. They exploded out with powerful auras as they rushed at the monster incredibly quickly, arriving in front of it in the blink of an eye. The 6 paths demon images stretched out their hands and massive amounts of ghostly energy entered their fists as they punched out with destructive power. Bang! Bang bang bang, massive explosions sounded out as the 6 fists gave off terrifying fist energies, leaving behind pillars of air that seemed to be able to destroy everything as they flew towards the monster. There was nothing that could stop them. The monster was greatly startled and raised its hands in front of it, sending out a wave of energy that formed a gray energy barrier in front of it. Bang! A loud explosion sounded out as the gray energy barrier was instantly shattered. The monster's body was also sent flying and crashed 100 meters away. It half knelt on the ground and coughed up a large mouthful of blood. Its aura became extremely weak. At that moment, a figure appeared beside the monster, holding a black and blood-red sword with both hands. He shouted, "Sword Master!" Clang! A sword hum suddenly erupted, resounding through the heavens and earth. The sword that was raised released countless rays of black sword light, and a powerful and sharp sword intent instantly spread out, enveloping the entire world and causing all living things to fall into fear. Zhao Fu gripped the emperor-killing sword with both hands and vigorously slashed towards the half-kneeling monster. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as a massive black sword light slashed out, giving off an incredibly sharp power that seemed to be able to slash through everything. As it descended, the ground seemed to be split in half, and a massive sword gash was left on the ground. It was as wide as a palm and 1,000 meters long, and it was impossible to tell how deep it was. The monster's body was unable to resist at all and was split in half. It lay on the ground and blood flowed everywhere, but it did not move at all. After finally killing the monster, Zhao Fu let out a sigh of relief. He looked at the 6 paths demon images and planned to put them away. They could not stay in the outside world for too long. Suddenly, Zhao Fu felt an immense sense of danger, and he felt as if his heart had been grabbed by a hand. He hurriedly turned and blocked with his sword. Bang! A sharp claw slammed into Zhao Fu's body, and Zhao Fu's body flew out like a rubber ball, smashing open a large crater on the ground. He coughed up a large mouthful of blood as he stared at this scene in shock. The monster that had been split in half had been completely revived and was not injured at all. Ha ha ha! The monster strangely laughed as it looked at Zhao Fu and said, "It's impossible for you to kill me." Following this, the monster once again rushed at Zhao Fu. Its hands had become sharp claws, and it quickly reached Zhao Fu. It swiped at Zhao Fu, sending out 5 rays of sharp light. They seemed to be able to slice Zhao Fu apart. Zhao Fu raised his sword and slashed out, causing a sharp black arc of light to flash out and slash apart the monster's claws. However, the monster did not care about its image at all. Since its secret had been discovered by Zhao Fu, there was no need for it to hide anymore. After Zhao Fu cut off its hand, the monster did not seem to feel any pain, as if the hand did not belong to it at all. The severed hand automatically returned to the monster's arm, as if it had never been severed at all. It gave off ferocious power as it continued to swipe at Zhao Fu. This time, Zhao Fu did not expect this at all and was sent flying. There were 5 thin gashes on his chest, from which blood flowed out, dyeing his clothes red. Ha ha! The monster wildly laughed and exploded out with a terrifying aura as it once again rushed at Zhao Fu. One of its claws gave off a cold light, giving off a dangerous aura. This time, the monster wanted to finish off Zhao Fu. Feeling the pain in his chest, Zhao Fu looked quite furious. He sent large amounts of divine bloodline power into his sword, causing it to give off boundless black light as a massive wave of sword chi spread out. Boom! Zhao Fu slashed out with his sword, and an enormous black crescent containing immense destructive power flew out, looking incredibly terrifying. The monster completely ignored this sword light and continued to rush at Zhao Fu. Its body was slashed in half, but in the next second, the 2 halves of its body reformed as if nothing had happened. The monster wildly laughed and waved its hands, causing 2 wild gusts of wind to gather, forming 2 massive wind blades that gave off terrifying auras as they slashed towards Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu vigorously slashed out 2 rays of sword light, which collided with the massive wind blades. They turned into 2 massive gales that spread out, causing the ground to crack and countless blades of grass to be uprooted. The monster's body suddenly appeared behind Zhao Fu, and one of its claws gave off a cold light as it swiped towards Zhao Fu's back. Zhao Fu had long since sensed this, and he turned and slashed out with his sword. The sharp sword cut through the monster's shoulder to the other side of its ribs, splitting it in half. However, the monster's lower half seemed to be fine, and it suddenly twisted and kicked out with immense force, causing the air to explode. Zhao Fu was caught off guard and was hit by the kick. Bang! Chapter 1585. The monster that had been split in half once again returned to its original state and was not injured at all. It said arrogantly, "Ha ha, now you know how terrifying I am. I said before that you were seeking death." Boom! Right after the monster spoke, it exploded out with a powerful aura and leapt off the air, turning into a ray of light as it shot towards Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu climbed up from the crater and looked at the monster. He stretched out a hand and 6 chains shot out, and the 6 paths demon images appeared beside the monster and surrounded it. The 6 paths demon images each raised a hand and a massive wave of power gathered in their arms as they slammed downwards. Boom! The massive power was like 6 massive hammers that contained terrifying destructive power as they smashed against the monster's body. The monster was like a boulder that fell from the sky and smashed out a crater. Ha ha ha, I already said that you can't kill me and your attacks can't harm me at all. I'll properly enjoy your flesh and blood. You're definitely the most delicious food I've ever seen. Within the crater, the monster acted as if nothing had happened and stood within it as it wildly laughed. Zhao Fu looked furious and once again exploded out with his full power. Divine Bloodline's power, Dragon Emperor's power, Demon Lord's power, Devil Lord's power, Evil Spirit Abyss Flower's power, Celestial Emperor's power, Flower Celestial's power, Ghost Lord's power. A multicolored aura flame burst forth from Zhao Fu's body. It was 3 meters tall and continuously swayed, sending out terrifying shock waves that rippled out. The ground was unable to withstand the power, and continuously cracked as clouds swirled in the sky. Zhao Fu's body gave off an extremely terrifying power as he rose into the air, causing the entire world to tremble in fear. The monster condescendingly laughed and continued to rush over. It did not place Zhao Fu in its eyes at all. Zhao Fu slowly raised his sword and slashed out again and again, sending out massive sword lights, giving off massive sword chi and destructive power as they ferociously slashed towards the monster. Boom! Boom, boom, boom! It wasn't just one, but hundreds and thousands of sword lights that slashed at the monster's body, giving off massive explosions that sounded out in all directions. The first sword light chopped the monster into minced meat. The second sword light chopped the minced meat into countless blood dregs. The third sword light turned the blood dregs into nothingness. The fourth sword light, the fifth sword light, and the sixth sword light kept chopping. The ground continued to shatter and collapse, and the crater continued to expand, from dozens of meters, to hundreds of meters, to thousands of meters, and finally to tens of thousands of meters. Finally, Zhao Fu stopped swinging the sword in his hand. Not a single drop of blood was left on the monster's body. It turned into nothingness, leaving no trace behind. "Ha ha ha, you still can't kill me!" An infuriating voice rang out as the monster reappeared in the pit, looking at Zhao Fu provocatively. Zhao Fu furiously stretched out a hand and grabbed at the air. Chains containing immense power shot out and pierced through the monster's body, making it look like a hornet's nest. There was not a single spot that was unharmed. Moreover, Zhao Fu controlled the chains to bind up the monster's body. Since he couldn't kill it, he would seal it here forever. A black hole appeared below the monster's body, and Zhao Fu pulled with his hand, causing the countless chains around the monster's body to be dragged into the sealed space. After successfully sealing the monster, Zhao Fu did not feel any joy because the monster had not struggled at all when he had sealed it. Bang! Zhao Fu's hairs stood on end as a figure appeared behind Zhao Fu. A spear containing terrifying power stabbed out, sending out an immense spear energy that sent Zhao Fu flying back. The monster once again appeared in the sky and loudly laughed. Zhao Fu was sent flying back and his back was blood-red. He coughed up a large mouthful of blood and his aura became quite weak. Swish! The monster turned into a ray of light and gave off a massive aura as it once again rushed at Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu sent the monster flying with a single sword strike, and his consciousness entered the sealed space. He had clearly sealed the monster, but now, the monster had disappeared from the sealed space and was able to silently appear behind him. Just what kind of abilities did this monster possess? It was actually unkillable and could not be sealed. Its abilities were quite terrifying. Whoosh, 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 massive gusts of wind sounded out as the monster stood in the air and swung its arms, causing 3 massive tornadoes to give off immense destructive power and an aura that seemed to be able to destroy everything as they flew towards Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu loudly shouted as the sword in his hand exploded out with countless rays of sword light and a massive sword intent spread out. Zhao Fu's body started to spin, causing sword arcs to flash out and give off sword winds, forming a black sword chi tornado. This sword chi tornado not only gave off the power to destroy everything, but it also gave off an incredibly sharp aura. It continuously swept out, causing the heavens and earth to dim and clouds to gather, seeming to be able to destroy everything. Bang! A shocking explosion sounded out as Zhao Fu's black tornado gave off terrifying power as it ferociously clashed with the 3 azure tornadoes. Wild gales blew out, destroying everything in the surroundings. The sky seemed to be torn apart by the wind, and the sounds they gave off were incredibly terrifying. Even though the 3 azure tornadoes were quite big and outnumbered Zhao Fu, they were still destroyed by Zhao Fu's sword chi tornado. However, it was shattered by Zhao Fu's sword chi tornado, turning into countless wild gusts of wind that scattered. The monster in the middle was also pulled into the sword chi tornado, and its body was sliced into countless pieces of meat that were then stirred into countless pieces. After that, not even the minced meat could be seen. Finally, Zhao Fu stopped. He panted heavily, his aura somewhat weak. That attack just now had consumed a great deal of his strength. Countless substances once again gathered, forming the monster's figure. The monster loudly mocked, "I told you! You can't kill me, no matter what you do, it's useless." Looking at this monster, Zhao Fu could only angrily curse. He did not continue, as he had already used up much of his strength. If he continued like this, he would definitely die at the monster's hands. Without hesitating, Zhao Fu turned into a ray of light and shot towards the horizon. Zhao Fu did not plan on exploring this danger zone. With this monster around, how could he pass through? Seeing Zhao Fu run away, the monster did not chase after him. Instead, there was a trace of mockery on its face. Chapter 1586. Run. Keep running. No matter what you do, you won't be able to escape, nor will you be able to kill me. In the end, you'll definitely die at my hands. The monster continued to wildly laugh. Zhao Fu looked quite furious and did not know what was going on. Why did this monster have undying and indestructible powers? Why could it not be sealed, and why he could not escape? This monster's abilities were simply too strange. Boom! The monster exploded out with a terrifying aura and once again rushed at Zhao Fu. It ferociously stabbed out with its spear, and a powerful spear light containing a sharp aura shot towards Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu's expression was cold as he vigorously slashed out with his sword, and a black sword light containing terrifying power slashed towards the spear light. A bang sounded out as the sword light and spear light collided, resulting in a massive explosion and causing countless rays of light to shoot everywhere. The monster rushed towards the light, and the spear in its hand turned into a massive snake that gave off ferocious power as it shot towards Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu blocked with his sword, but the snake gave off immense power and sent Zhao Fu flying. The monster loudly laughed and quickly rushed at Zhao Fu. It vigorously slashed out with its claws, and 5 arcs of light containing sharp power slashed towards Zhao Fu. They seemed to tear apart the sky, causing people's hairs to stand on end. Zhao Fu continuously slashed out, destroying the arcs of light, but the monster once again leapt forwards, and its sharp claws became like sharp knives as it stabbed towards Zhao Fu's heart. Facing this attack, Zhao Fu had fallen for it once before, and he understood that even if he cut it in half, it would be useless. His sword gave off an intense sword light, so he did not use any slashes and instead used a slap to send it flying. The monster that was sent flying let out a strange laugh, and its body automatically dissipated into countless tiny particles. In the next second, it strangely appeared behind Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu felt quite startled. He had never thought that the monster would be able to reform itself without killing him. The monster's hand once again grabbed towards Zhao Fu's heart. Zhao Fu dodged to the side, but the sharp claw still reached Zhao Fu and stabbed into his right back. Blood splattered everywhere, and Zhao Fu endured the pain as he spun and slashed out, once again sending the monster flying. Hee, the monster once again gave a strange smile and no longer placed Zhao Fu in its eyes at all. Its gaze was filled with condescension and ridicule as its body once again turned into countless traces of matter and disappeared. Zhao Fu's eyes were filled with a strange aura as he looked at Zhao Fu with disdain. Zhao Fu also looked around warily. Suddenly, the monster once again rushed behind Zhao Fu and stabbed towards Zhao Fu with its sharp claws. Zhao Fu reacted in time, turning and slashing the monster back. However, at that moment, Zhao Fu felt an immense sense of danger above him, and he hurriedly unleashed his black energy barrier. The monster had split into 2, and one was sent flying by Zhao Fu while the other appeared above Zhao Fu's head. The monster's claws gave off large amounts of light and gave off terrifying power as they swiped towards Zhao Fu, leaving behind afterimages. Bang! The black energy barrier was hit by the massive power, and it fell to the ground like a boulder, smashing open a massive crater. Fortunately, Zhao Fu had unleashed his defensive barrier in time, or else this attack might have heavily injured Zhao Fu. However, Zhao Fu had also been slightly injured, and he once again coughed up a mouthful of blood, and his aura became even weaker. Ha ha ha! The monster in the sky wildly laughed, and then it split into 8, also giving off strange laughter. Zhao Fu felt quite startled. One monster was already quite difficult to deal with, and now there were 8 of them. He would be in great danger. Swish, 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 the 8 monsters savagely laughed and gave off powerful auras as they turned into rays of light and once again attacked Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu could only dodge, and he turned into a ray of light as he dodged to the side. However, in the next moment, the 8 monsters turned into countless particles of light and disappeared. In the next second, the first monster appeared by his side, and Zhao Fu slapped it away. The second monster paid, and Zhao Fu once again slapped out with his sword. The third monster was kicked out by Zhao Fu, but the fourth monster could not react in time. Bang! Zhao Fu's body was sent flying by the monster's kick, and he crashed dozens of meters away. He once again coughed up a mouthful of blood, and his expression was incredibly unsightly. He continuously wondered just what sort of abilities these monsters had. Not only were they unkillable and indestructible, but they could also create clones and control this place's power. Moreover, they could not escape from this place, and every time they were about to leave, their bodies would mysteriously reappear here. There were only 3 ways to do this. The first was within some sort of barrier, the second was within some sort of magic formation, and after thinking about it, Zhao Fu was sure that it was not one of those 2. Thinking about that, Zhao Fu's gaze became sharp. The 8 monsters stood in the sky and loudly laughed. I already said that you would definitely die here, so why struggle and suffer? You don't have the power to resist me, so you can die in peace. I'll definitely treasure you and eat you. The monsters continued to wildly laugh, and now there were 16 of them. They once again turned into rays of light and savagely charged at Zhao Fu. However, Zhao Fu did not move at all, coldly looking at the incoming monsters. This made the monsters feel quite startled, and they could not understand why Zhao Fu was just standing there. Chapter 1587. Out of the 5 celestial senses, divine sense had the ability to resist all sorts of mental attacks and illusions. When one's celestial senses fused together, their various powers would become even more powerful, and the heaven's eye would be the most terrifying. The illusion this time was the most powerful illusion Zhao Fu had ever encountered. Zhao Fu had the 5 celestial senses, and adding on his divine bloodline, ordinary illusions were useless against him. However, this illusion had caused Zhao Fu to fall into it without him noticing. Without the heaven's eye, it was likely that Zhao Fu would not have been able to escape from the illusion, and he might have died within. The consequences would have been quite severe. If even Zhao Fu's strength was like this, anyone else would not be able to survive. The insides of this danger zone were quite terrifying. After the illusion disappeared, a monster appeared in front of Zhao Fu. This monster had a humanoid body and was quite fat. It had 2 heads, each of which had an eye. Its skin was gray, and its hands were like sharp claws. There were also some roots growing out of its body. This was the monster that had unleashed that terrifying illusion. Now that Zhao Fu had dispelled its illusion, it was greatly startled and hurriedly retreated. It was no longer as arrogant and condescending as it had been before. Without the power of its illusions, its strength was quite ordinary and could be easily defeated. Its greatest strength was its illusions. Zhao Fu stopped using the heaven's eye's power. Seeing that it wanted to run, he gave a cold smile and slashed out with his sword. The black crescent-shaped sword light gave off terrifying power as it slashed out. The monster turned and slashed out with its claws, causing 5 sharp lights to collide with the black crescent-shaped sword light. Bang! An explosion sounded out as countless rays of light shot out in all directions. A shockwave spread out, and the monster's body was forced back a few steps. It was not injured, but its expression was quite unsightly. Zhao Fu was now within 10 meters of it, making it difficult for it to escape. "Can you let me off this once? I can use treasures to exchange for my life." The monster knew that he was too ordinary without the power of illusion. For the sake of his own life, he compromised with Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu had been suppressing his anger for a long time. Now that he had finally vented his anger, he sneered and said, "At this time, you still want to live. Aren't you a little too naive? I remember that you were very arrogant just now. Why are you afraid now?" The monster's expression was quite unsightly and knew that it was impossible for Zhao Fu to spare him. He hardened his heart and exploded out with a powerful aura flame as he roared, "Don't think that I'm afraid of you. It's not certain who will win yet." Boom! The monster gave off a massive aura as it rushed out and slashed out with one of its claws. 5 massive gray crescents containing ferocious power slashed out, seeming to be able to split apart boulders. At that moment, a look of disdain appeared on Zhao Fu's face. After losing its illusion, the monster's strength had become quite ordinary, so Zhao Fu did not fear it. He rushed up and slashed out with massive power. Bang! The 5 ferocious crescents were shattered by Zhao Fu's attack, turning into countless motes of light and dissipating. Seeing this, the monster felt quite startled and did not hesitate to turn and run. However, Zhao Fu slashed out with his sword and sent the escaping monster flying. The monster was sent flying 10 or so meters away and coughed up a large mouthful of blood. It looked quite afraid as it cried out, "Don't kill me! I can give you my treasures and obey your orders as long as you spare my life." However, Zhao Fu did not do anything because he did not trust this monster. This monster was quite cunning, and after suffering so much at its hands, how could it just disappear like that? Shing! A black sword light containing terrifying power slashed out, and the monster's expression became savage. It no longer chose to run and roared as it slashed out with its claws. The 5 crescents slashed against the black sword light and once again exploded. This time, Zhao Fu turned into a ray of light and rushed in front of the monster. He ferociously slashed out with his sword, causing sword light to explode out with destructive power. The monster grabbed out with its hand and a spear appeared in its hand. It held the spear and sent large amounts of power into it as it stabbed out, giving off a terrifying piercing power as it shot out. Bang! A massive sound rang out as the spear energy and sword light collided. The sword light shattered the spear energy and sent the monster flying back. The monster howled in pain as a bloody gash appeared on its chest, and it crashed to the ground, looking quite wretched. However, Zhao Fu was expressionless as he once again stabbed towards the monster. The monster's expression was savage, and its eyes became transparent, and it once again shot out an illusory light that seemed to be real as it soundlessly shot towards Zhao Fu. Facing these 2 rays of light, Zhao Fu knew that they were incredibly dangerous, as they contained powerful illusions. However, Zhao Fu once again unleashed his Heaven's Eye. The rainbow-colored eyeball gave off boundless rainbow-colored light, forming a rainbow-colored energy barrier that blocked in front of Zhao Fu. The 2 rays of light from the monster were unable to affect Zhao Fu at all, and the monster's expression was quite unsightly as it continued to run. Bang! Zhao Fu vigorously slashed out, sending out a sword light containing immense power that once again sent the monster flying. He did not give the monster any chance to attack and chased after it, chopping off its 2 heads, instantly killing it. Seeing that the monster was truly dead, Zhao Fu let out a sigh of relief and relaxed as he sat on the ground to recover his strength. Because he had been within the illusion, all of his injuries had disappeared, but his mind had been injured. That illusion most likely directly harmed the soul, and if he was killed within the illusion, his soul would be killed as well. This caused the person outside the illusion to truly die. After resting for a while and recovering all of his strength, Zhao Fu looked at the monster's corpse and thought about it before stretching out a hand and causing countless traces of black demonic qi to spread out and cover the monster's body and two heads. The corpse started to melt and condense into an orb of black liquid that floated in the air. This orb of liquid continuously compressed, and some black impurities were expelled, turning into countless traces of matter that floated in the air and disappeared. Zhao Fu opened his left eye and gave off a formless suction force that sucked the orb of black liquid into his eye. Following this, Zhao Fu closed his eye socket and started to refine the orb of black liquid. The orb of black liquid continuously fused into Zhao Fu's left eyeball, and the eyeball calmly absorbed the liquid before perfectly fusing together. When Zhao Fu once again opened his eyes, there was now a beautiful glass-like pupil in Zhao Fu's left eye. It gave off motes of light like a gemstone, and ordinary people would feel moved if they saw it. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.